Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream tonight. This is our Monday stream. I'm your host, Ashton Forbes. Glad to see everybody in the chat early on hanging out. I appreciate you guys for jumping in early. Let me move this chair in the background. I missed something, obviously. One sec. Also, I might have to get a new earpiece. I don't think it's working anymore. All good, guys. Yeah, let's go, everybody. Let's go. It has been a week, chat. I am back from Vegas. I have been sleeping for like a day and a half, and I'm mostly recuperated. So we're going to be reacting today, guys, something I almost never do. We're going to be reacting to content today. We got a lot of stuff to go through. So much stuff has happened in the last week. And I want to address as much of it as I can. So we're changing Malaysian Airlines Monday just for this week to whatever special stream or whatever heck it is going on. Glad to see you guys. Yeah, I didn't actually win big in Vegas, but it was still an awesome trip. Really awesome trip. Had a good time. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Probably won't be discussing it very much unless I come up with a relevant story. Can I drop a Discord invite? Yeah, let's get the Discord invite in there early right now for you guys. And then let's get to the content. We got a lot of stuff to go over through tonight. Okay. Here you go. Whew. Okay. There you go. There's your Discord invite. Let me pour my martini while we got that going. Okay, so what are we reviewing tonight, guys? First thing, I'll probably review the Ross Coulthart, Bryce Zabel interview. Somebody messaged that to me like earlier. I went over dinner. I listened to it. So yeah, there's the Discord invite once again. Good to see Alien Girl in the chat. Welcome, Alien Girl. The PayPal Mafia. I don't even know what that is, chat. I don't think we're gonna get to the PayPal Mafia today. So we've got Elizondo. Lou Elizondo is making the tour right now on the media, going on the TV shows, and he's on the mainstream media, which obviously brings up big questions for me. When you're on like CBS and all this other shit, like you've been given the go ahead, to go on to that kind of stuff. There's a reason why those people don't ever try to reach out to somebody like me, because they would be afraid of what I would say on national television, probably. We're going to talk about, I already mentioned the Ross Coulthart interview with Bryce Zabel. I made a post about that, so take a look at that if you want a sneak peek. Sal Paez has responded to the debrief. I think he probably saw my social media post where I was calling out the debrief last week, because it looks like he sent, actually I know for a fact, he sent an email challenge to the author of the debrief article that was talking about his patents, asking basically why he hasn't, why they didn't respond to his challenge, or why they didn't reach out to him for a comment. And I made a post, if you guys remember, I think it was like a week and a half ago, about the debrief article and how like the guy that wrote it is some kind of like NPC guy, right? Who just parrots mainstream talking points everywhere he goes, including stuff about, he was saying something about Elon Musk, I think, or I don't remember, or something about Twitter and the advertiser thing. And this is important because this also feeds into all the stuff related. These three topics are all kind of related when it comes to Sal Paez, Elizondo, and Ross Coulthart. A lot of it's about disclosure and what disclosure means and when we're going to get disclosure. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at Joseph P. Farrell was on Dark Journalist, and he talks about 0 point energy. So we're probably going to listen to at least one clip on that. Aaron Rodgers was asked about me. That was like the talk of the town in my family last week. Everybody going, Aaron Rodgers was asked about you. Aaron Rodgers was asked about you. And I went, yep, that's because gravity manipulation technology is real. And even though it's kind of faux pas, people want to know. People want to know what people's opinions are on those videos. And what's going to end up happening is the people that are the early adopters, let's call them, of the MH370 videos, they're going to end up being right. They're going to end up being right. I'm 100% sure at this point, and even when I talk to people like Ian Carroll says, you never want to be 100% sure about, I don't trust him. He's 100% sure about something. Well, I've just reached the point where I just know way too much. Like, for sure, the story only makes sense one way. And that way is that there is suppression, but it's on us. Like, when it comes to people like Ross Coulthart, it's on us for the reason why we don't have disclosure. We're the ones standing in our own way. Our own inability to think even a little bit outside the box is what's stopping us. We're also going to take a look at Jeff Wise's video. Jeff Wise did a video on us, a full video, just completely all about me, actually, which is pretty funny. And then we're also going to look at Peter Thiel's interview on Joe Rogan. So we got a ton of stuff to get through here tonight, guys. It's going to be a busy evening. I'm just trying to make sure I've got everything else here. Okay. So first, let's start off with the fact that Vladimir Putin apparently issued a amnesty or something. And if you hear that in the background, that's Lulu just having a spaz attack over there. Lulu's happy I'm back as well. Let me take a look here. Putin. Where is it? I'm going to try to find it so I can share the video. Okay, here it is. Guys, how fast do you think they would drone strike me if I took this amnesty to go to Russia and teach them about scalar weapons? How fast do you guys think that DNI Avril Haines would justify drone striking an American citizen if I took this? Russia offers safe haven for people trying to escape Western liberal ideals. They'll have the right to apply for temporary residence in Russia outside the quota approved by the Russian government. Without providing documents confirming their knowledge of the Russian language. This is just straight up amnesty they're offering. Okay, Lulu. Okay. This is just amnesty. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. DNI. At the moment they see you on board that flight, it's gonna be. That's gonna be it, chat. I don't know how fast. How fast does it take to get an email to get to Russia? Now, honestly, Department of National Intelligence Director Avril Haines or however you say her name, she was the one that justified how we would drone strike innocent people under Obama when we were doing the drone strikes in the Middle East. She's the one that would decide how fast I get put on that on the kill to list. Honestly. No, Snowden, honestly, Snowden did something bad, but like they're not going to drone strike Snowden, they'll drone strike me probably. Okay. Let's see what we got here. So I just wanted to show that real quick. Let's jump into the Elizondo thing. Okay. So wait, can you guys see the whole thing or can you only see one tab? So I'm just going to scroll down to the Elizondo video that I shared earlier today. Probably the short one first here.
Well, we know that the government never lies, right? The Iran-Contra, Pentagon Papers, Afghanistan withdrawal. No, unfortunately, the government is not this huge colossal machine, if you will. It's segregated into these little fiefdoms, if you will. And unfortunately, they don't always coordinate and talk with one another.
Do you think?
So you guys can hear that, right? I think you can. I'm going to act like you can hear it. So this is important here because this is the idea that conspiracies are possible. And this is what Lou Elizondo is saying here. This is important because we're probably not going to listen to the clip, but Jeff Wise says the same thing. These guys say conspiracies are possible, but this isn't a conspiracy, is what a lot of these guys say. And this kind of goes to the Ross Coulthart thing as well, is that these guys believe in major conspiracies. They just don't believe it if they're not being told that it's real by somebody they trust. And to me, that shows a level of hypocrisy that is really off the charts. Like, oh, you believe in a conspiracy, but only if the government tells me it's a real conspiracy. Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, that's not how it works, you know? And that's what I think is kind of just hypocritical in general. I'm going to play the bigger clip.
Unfortunately, the government is not this huge colossal machine, if you will. It's and paying payer dollars have paid for them to conduct this research. And at the end of the day, when you're studying the material and you're studying,
so I'm going to repeat that.
Your tax, we have scientists, some of the top scientists that your tax-paying payer dollars have paid for.
Okay, literally right here, he's talking about Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, guys. Like right here, he's talking about Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis. That's who he's talking about right here, guys. So like, let's just, we don't have to like have these people be like faceless bureaucrats or whatever, or scientists. He's literally talking about Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff. The papers he's talking about are the DIA papers that I've been talking about for the last year straight, and the scientists that I've been talking about. So just to be 100% clear here, the stuff that Lou Elizondo is not naming people directly, not naming papers directly, I've been naming those papers directly and those people directly, you know? Like if I was on this show right now, I wouldn't be going, your taxpayer dollars are being used to fund research from scientists, because no one gives a fuck. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. Like, yes, we know that. We want to know, what are the papers? What topics are they discussing? They're talking about wormholes, warp drive. They're talking about negative energy, what dark energy is. They're talking about the nature of gravity itself. That's what they're talking about. If you say that on here, then maybe people are going to listen. But you just start talking about the alien bodies and shit. You guys got to realize, man, like a huge percent of the public doesn't give a shit about that.
For them to conduct this research. And at the end of the day, when you're studying the material and you're studying the capabilities of these vehicles, and frankly, there's nothing that we have that compares to what these vehicles can do.
Okay, this is the part where I just can't tell if Lou Elizondo's full of shit here or not. I can't get a beat on Lou Elizondo, because I know for a fact he's lied to people's faces about me and about the MH370 videos. So the question is, like, is he just willing to lie whenever he needs to? Is he protecting his NDA here? I'm not really sure, but we have these capabilities. This is not a situation where something is so advanced that it's unknowable. And I can't tell if Lou Elizondo just doesn't understand the science. Like, a lot of these guys respected Lou Elizondo, but he's still a grunt. You know, he doesn't study science or do any of that. I can tell just listening to him. He's never studied science in his life, probably. This is the same kind of thing with Ross Coulthart. These guys just like, they think it's like unknowable information, that the world just can't know how any of this science works. But that's not true. It's absolutely understandable. And once you realize that we can understand it, that means that we can harness that technology. So this is the big mistake I think a lot of them make, is that, and I hear this from many people out there, is they think that whatever we don't know about publicly must be alien in nature. And we also heard Matt Gaetz talk about this, where he goes, there's no human explanation for this. Guys, anything that's possible in the universe, we can understand. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything that's possible, we can understand it. There's no such thing as unknowable science that's out there that's too far beyond our cognitive abilities. That's not the case, because science is simply the study of observable reality. Now, the flip side of this is that it also means that disclosure cannot be hidden forever. And this is what we're going to talk about in a second with Ross Coulthart, which is this idea that the disclosure is going to come from the science being disclosed and made publicly available. When people accept that zero-point energy explains gravity and that therefore we can manipulate gravity, that's when disclosure happens. It's never going to happen from the top down, guys.
Capabilities that they're demonstrating in front of us, then one has to ask, well, where are they from? And if it's not our technology and it's not some sort of adversarial technology, it's someone's technology.
In a statement to CBS News, the Pentagon spokesperson said that the department will follow the data wherever it leads. However, to date, we have not found any credible evidence of extraterrestrial activity. Are there other...
Look, they're being coy here. Hold on a second, guys. They're using the word extraterrestrial very specifically there. Sorry about that. There's two ways this plays out. One, they legitimately don't know where it's from. Okay. One, they legitimately don't know where it's from, so there's therefore no evidence of extraterrestrial technology, right? They've never talked to an alien or something like that. At least not in public on the government. The other option is that it's just not of extraterrestrial origin. That we're talking about like ultra-terrestrials or future humans or whatever. Both of those interpretations here are easily applied to this.
For explanations that should be considered, is there hard evidence that this is a non-human technology?
That's a great point. And so I think we need to look at this from a temporal aspect, a time aspect. I think if you were to look at it now and say, well, there's no...
Elizondo makes a really good point right here, and I'm going to let him make it, and then I'm going to jump in. So he's talking about, he gets asked from a temporal aspect, time aspect.
Evidence these things are, if you will, not human. The reality is we've been dealing with this topic as a government for decades. So it's not like there's some sort of adversarial technology that just popped on the proverbial radar that's ahead of us. This is something we've been dealing with as a nation for 60 years. So let's put that into perspective. This would be like going into King Tut's tomb for the very first time and finding a fully assembled 747 inside the tomb. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. Somebody just mentioned some dude's tweet. I'm going to take a look at it here right after this. So this is a good point right here. And this is what I struggle with the most, is that people have been talking about the Foo Fighters since World War II when it comes to balls of energy out there. So if that's the case, could we have figured it out in the 40s already? Starts to get harder and harder to believe that we could have had this figured out historically. I have no problem believing that we understand it now. And the reason for that is I've seen at least 4 patents in the last 5 years. That means that it's probably been in the military control for another 10, 15 years before that. We've got all the scientific papers that are out there from scientists who are now dead, other ones that are now in like their 80s. We've got CIA agents literally calling out physicists saying, I know you in a way you don't know yourself, like, or that a way that you don't know I know about you, all kinds of weird shit like this. So absolutely, we understand the science. The black world understands the science. The public is a little bit too stupid. But explaining it historically is a lot harder. And this is the part where I say, well, shit, how can we explain where we got this technology from? How can we explain how long we've had it? I think best case scenario for a human explanation is that we figured it out in World War II with the Manhattan Project. And then we kept the 0-point energy side of it secret. Apparently in the, let me switch over here. Apparently in the Joseph P. Farrell discussion, they talk about the idea that like hydrogen bomb was really using 0-point energy, and that it really is like a flip side of like the nuclear and scalar technologies are like two sides of the same coin. That, I mean, I think Joseph P. Farrell's been on it. I think it's weird he doesn't want to talk to me, or at least he hasn't responded to any of my messages. Okay, let's finish this up.
Right? From a time perspective, we're talking the 1950s, the late 1940s, where this technology has been demonstrated over controlled U.S. airspace, over some of our most sensitive military installations. And by the way, there's official U.S. documentation that substantiates this.
You know what, Lou? I really enjoyed your book. I thought it was really eye-opening about the secrets that people keep. You make a point of saying you believe secrets have an expiration date. And it seems you and your family really...
Okay, I'm going to skip the rest of this because basically what he says here for the end is he says, like, this is technology that can't be kept secret. Okay, chat, that's what I've been saying for months and months and months. Like, this is a discovery. This is science. The science is going to get out there. The moment people realize I'm telling them the truth about 0-point energy and how gravity works, and it's not even my ideas, it's just I found them because I saw these videos, and now we were able to figure out how the technology works. And so this is a really good segue into the, let's watch one of the MH370 videos, because we're literally watching the very disclosure that Lou Elizondo is talking about in this video here. Okay, let me see here. I don't control the ads, by the way, guys. They're just such a balanced. I will never go to one of Greer's CE5 things. It's not personal. I just don't care. I really just don't care, man. The thing that I think upsets my followers the most is I just don't care about aliens, guys. I don't care about aliens, like, at all. That doesn't mean I dislike them. I'm not racist or prejudiced against aliens. It just doesn't matter. Unless the aliens are actually secretly controlling the government, then I think it's a big story, but there's no reason for me to believe that at the moment. I know some people believe in that conspiracy theory. For me, let's jump into, actually, real quick. Let's do, what are we gonna do here? Let's watch the videos, and then I'm going to talk about that here in the Ross Coulthart video that we talk about here next. Okay, guys? So I want to watch this video. The video I want to watch the most is the thermal video, because there's no way this video is fake. It's got way too much science going on in it. And the people like Elizondo, like, he's talking about what we see here. And so I was listening to Ross Coulthart and Bryce Zabel talk. And, like, Ross Coulthart, like, just doesn't recognize the very thing that he's disclosing. I've got a good beat on Ross Coulthart now. I'm 100% sure at this point that Ross Coulthart is either a useful idiot or he's being deceptive. I think it's probably the useful idiot side of it. He's the very thing that he recognizes in others that he doesn't see for himself, which is that, for example, Ross Coulthart believes that there's aliens that are visiting us potentially, that we have craft, that we've been reverse engineering the craft. Well, here you go, man. You're looking at the technology right here. The very technology that is required for aliens to get to Earth is displayed right there in that video. It has to be that. If that is not possible, then aliens are not on this planet. Simple as that. Does that, like, I need to make that as clear as possible for the UFO people out there. If this video is not possible, then it's not possible for aliens to be here because it's too far away. We literally need to be able to travel faster than the speed of light. Faster than the speed of light means like that, like literal teleportation, in order for aliens to get here from literally any other solar system, even Alpha Centauri. It would take a SpaceX rocket hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, to get here from the closest star to us. Okay? So we just need to make sure that that's 100% clear for people. Now, Lou Elizondo's own book talks about orbs and energy balls. We also listen to John Ramirez talking about orbs and energy balls. Guys, everything lines up towards these videos being real. This is what happened to this missing plane. The ultimate hypocrisy from Ross Coulthart is that Ross Coulthart says, I'm going to switch over now that we've watched that. Let's actually switch over to my other clip about Ross Coulthart. Sorry. Yeah, and this is the thing that Ross and Elizondo and Jeff Wise all talk about, which is this idea of, well, we know the government lies, but they're not lying about this particular thing that I think can't be real, right? It's like, holy shit, man. Like, I don't understand how anybody can believe that the Nord Stream pipeline was destroyed by, intelligence in U.S. and Ukraine, that's what happened. Like, Russia didn't blow up their own pipeline. And yet they think that, like, there's no reason for the United States to, like, lie about MH370. There's no way they're lying about it, even though we've got satellite surveillance everywhere. We got acoustic systems everywhere. The United States was involved. They were calling Malaysia every day. Like, how is it not extremely obvious that the United States is implicated in the disappearance of this plane? The least controversial, first of all, the first least controversial thing about the videos is that that's MH370 because we've got coordinates. The second least controversial thing is if somehow those videos are fake, well, there's still a conspiracy going on to cover up what happened to this plane. And the only country that's capable of pulling it off is the United States of America. We just don't have, there's other countries just don't have the capability to pull it off. China doesn't have the capability to pull it off, and Russia doesn't have the capability to pull off a cover-up of that level, guys. So I listened to this Bryce Zabel interview, and first of all, they end up jerking off Lou Elizondo for like 15 minutes straight at the beginning of it. Like, full on, take your PP out, let me squeeze it for you. Like, this guy is straight up, he's a hero. He's going to go down history, guys. Like, no disrespect, but like, I've done more for disclosure than Lou Elizondo has done. Like, just objectively speaking, like, I've actually done real journalism. I don't have an NDA where I have to filter the truth out or whatever. The only thing I ever hold back is literally because I'm afraid we're going to destroy ourselves. That's it. That's where I draw my line. I'm happy to explain to you guys that we have hypersonic orbs that can teleport objects and missiles back onto the location, like warp nukes, whatever. This is Joseph P. Farrell literally brings this up, by the way. Joseph P. Farrell literally brings up the idea that we have warp nukes. Like, I just don't know. And yet none of these people want to talk to me, even though I'm disclosing the very thing that they think that they want, I guess. So they jerk off Lou Elizondo, whatever, for like 10, 15 minutes straight, which goes to show for me that a lot of this is a cult of personality for these people. A lot of these people are full-on authoritarian. They believe whatever the authority tells them, and anybody else that comes out to tell them, it goes right over their head. And it's extremely ironic because Bryce and Ross talk for like 10 minutes about like just wearing a lab coat to look official. And I'm going, dude, you're doing the same thing when you're jerking off Lou Elizondo, man. Like, he's a sure guy, but he's not saying anything that is going to blow the thing wide open. He's just telling stories, man. And are those stories accurate? I think probably. But unfortunately, if we want to wake people up, it's going to take more than that. Okay? So going back to what I said before, the hypocrisy when I was listening to Ross Coulthart was just through the roof. Now, for the record, guys, I have seen the text messages, and I will show them on stream if I have to, between Ross Coulthart and somebody in the UFO community, where Ross Coulthart literally tells this person in the UFO community back in August of last year that he was told by his intelligence sources that the videos are not authentic, that they don't look authentic, okay? Ross Coulthart, I have him on the record. He can't deny it. Private text messages between somebody else that he never thought were going to get leaked. They got leaked to me, whatever. So Ross Coulthart is literally doing the thing that in this podcast, he says that the media just literally takes whatever they're told by intelligence sources and runs with it. That's the exact same thing Ross Coulthart did with the MH370 situation. He did a whole episode on MH370. He didn't even reach out to me to talk about it. Instead, he reached out to this guy, Larry Vance, who was like an autistic child having a meltdown for 15 minutes. At least he talked to Florence Duchangi, but like, if you want to get to the truth, you need to talk to me about this stuff. And yet he has the audacity to claim that the media is like not doing due diligence for disclosure. No, Ross Coulthart. I'm going to take this full screen. Ross Coulthart, you're the one not doing diligence for disclosure. You're the one who ignored the most important UFO videos of all time that are consistent with everything that everybody has been talking to you about. And the worst part about it is you don't even see the implications of why it's being hidden. Me, a random guy who just saw two of the craziest videos ever, who's been learning about the science from the very government engineers that Lou Elizondo talks about, learning it from their papers. I understand the implications clear as day. The MH370 videos, warp drive, wormholes, they are a doomsday weapon. Doomsday weapon capable of making a black hole, a real black hole, and extracting unlimited energy from the 0-point field all around us. Free energy. So we're talking about a doomsday weapon and massive socioeconomic impact to this planet. It will obsolete industries overnight. These are the main reasons why it's hidden. It has nothing to do with aliens whatsoever. Aliens are the last thing that the government cares about. What they care about is military supremacy over the planet and socioeconomic power. These are the things that elite people care about. So there you go. This is why I've been disclosing the technology. This is why I've been standoffish about how much to disclose, especially when it comes to the engineering aspects, because I don't want to be responsible for the end of the world. And in my opinion, that is the answer to the great filter, the Fermi paradox. When we look up in the sky, why do we not see civilizations everywhere? Well, first of all, we probably do if we just hone our LIGO to high-frequency gravitational waves. Second of all, we probably see a lot of black holes out there because civilizations just wipe themselves out when they figure this out. Something to keep in mind. The last thing I want to say on the aliens front is that if aliens are visiting us with this technology, with warp drive and wormhole technology, then we are ants to them. We are just simply ants. It's not a matter of being equal in power. They can do whatever they want with us because they could just destroy our planet in an instant if they felt so inclined. So I think it's pretty important for people to realize that we do not stand up to that whatsoever. And if that is true, then we need to figure out how to reverse engineer this technology right away. Okay, now that I've let me see if there's anything else I want to address on this. Oh, and then Ross Kohlhart also just brings up scalar weapons at about 31 minutes into the conversation. If you guys listen to this conversation with Bryce Zabel, Ross Kohlhart just brings up scalar weapons and talks about how, like, maybe this is why we're hiding it. And I'm just going, yeah, dude. Yeah. Also, how many people are bringing up the idea of scalar weapons? I feel like you might have just literally stolen that from me. There's not a ton of influencers out there that talk about the idea of scalar weapons and use those exact terminology. Yeah, and that's it. And I guess the last thing I want to say on the Ross Kohlhart thing is that, as I said before, disclosure is going to come from the bottom up. It's going to come from people like you out there watching, people like me researching the science ourselves, and waking up the scientists that are out there and saying, here it is. And I think that a lot of these people struggle with the idea that if there is some science out there, how can it be hidden? How can it be suppressed? It's actually super easy to suppress it. Most physicists and scientists just regurgitate what they're told to think. They're not out there researching novel topics and ideas all the time. They live within the box they're created for themselves. It's very powerful brainwashing. COVID should have taught people how incredibly easy it is to brainwash people, like trivially easy. This is what holds us back. The true reality is that, and here we go. So the true reality of the science, I'm going to break it down for you guys again as fast as I can. There's a sea of energy all around us all the time. The sea of energy is the 0-point fluctuations, the Dirac sea, whatever you want to call it, the ether, for example. And it is the fabric on our reality, or let's say the paint on our reality, because the fabric is the void of space-time. And this energy is dispersed all throughout our universe. And it's in an equilibrium state. Equilibrium state meaning a stable state. Stable. When we have powerful gravitational fields, that's because we have a huge amount of mass, which is just built latent energy, essentially. So we can manipulate the fabric up and down by adding or removing energy, shielding it for the 0-point fluctuations, for example. This is gravity manipulation. This model of 0-point energy in our universe explains basically all the physics that we currently don't understand, including dark matter and dark energy and where energy comes from. It also brings into question whether or not the Big Bang happened, but it's also consistent with the idea of the Big Bang as well. These laws this does not violate the laws of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics is energy can't be created or destroyed. This energy is just being borrowed from the field of equilibrium status that's all around us. We can extract that energy. Second law of thermodynamics only applies to a closed system. Once you realize your system is the entire universe and all the energy in the universe, the second law of thermodynamics is no longer violated. So how long it takes people to figure this out, I don't know. But I will tell you it is 100% real. I am going to keep saying it. EM drive is real. You can manipulate the medium and have propellantless propulsion. Warp drive is possible. You can bend the medium around you so that you're not moving. The medium's just moving like a conveyor belt. And you can bend the medium to such a degree where you can just rip a hole right through the fabric of the medium. You can break the Schwinger limit. And this is because we can achieve energy densities that are above 10 to the 33, which is a huge amount of energy density that people just currently don't think is possible, but it is. And we can also extract that energy from the environment, and this gives us free energy as well. All of these concepts are real. They're all based on the exact same science. This is what people are calling the UFO science or whatever bullshit they want to call it. I don't care. I don't care where it comes from. Don't care where it comes from aliens. Salvatore Pais has like 5 patents that are out there that basically say all the exact same things. Hal Puthoff, Eric Weinstein, government engineers and physicists that Lou Elizondo is talking about, they're the ones promoting this stuff, guys. One sec. Taking some notes. Okay, next thing. Pyramids and all this stuff as well. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if you're inside a gravity bubble, 0 G's. Exactly. This is it, right? You're inside a gravity bubble. You have 0 Gs. That's it. If you bend space around you in a warp drive, negative energy, 0 Gs, 0 G forces. This is gravity manipulation, right? It's not necessarily anti-gravity. We're not shielding the gravity from the Earth. We're just making our own bubble, and we're just moving around in our own bubble. And that's how you can tell that these concepts are directly related. So there you go, guys. Danny Jones, no, he owns me, chat. Why is the shockwave appearing two-dimensional? Because we're looking at a two-dimensional video. That's the reason. That's the reason, chat. Let's see what else we got. If it's not published, it's not science. The worst irony of this, chat, the science is published. The science is published out there. This isn't even a situation. I thought that this was going to be like science that's hidden behind, firewalls on a private military contractor lab, and I'm sure there is. But all the science that I've read has all been publicly available. I haven't even posted some of the papers that I've read that are, whatever, that I get sent by people. I have a really good idea at this point of whose papers are legit and who's not. And I have a pretty good idea who talks to who in the scientific community as well. Because what you realize, there's little niche clubs of people, and some people don't quite understand it, and other people do understand it. Some people are all in. The people that understand the 0-point energy, let's say, theory of the universe, you can tell right away. They all reference the same people. They reference Casimir, Forward, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, sometimes Salvatore Paez, Sakharov, Kaluza Klein. You look and you can see right away, oh, these are the people that they get it, versus the people that don't. And the moment that everybody else begins to figure it out, this whole thing is going to unravel. I guarantee you, chat. Guarantee you, the moment the physicists start realizing, yes, this is legit, and it's just going to be a domino effect too, right? Once EM drive is proven real, everyone's going to go, how the hell is EM drive possible? Well, the only theory that fits with EM drive being real is the 0-point energy fluctuation theory. Somehow they're abusing the 0-point energy fluctuations. And then hopefully we won't have to be pulling teeth like we are now to be like, hey, guys, I've been saying the answer for you. And the last thing I want to say on this is that the only way I know this science is real is because I'm literally watching it on the MH370 videos. The same videos that I was just showing to you guys. There's no way I would ever realize that this is legitimate without this video here, because this video explains all of the science, all of it. All the science is 0-point energy fluctuations, is the explanation of gravity. It's all explained by this video. And the key points, the 3 key elements: 1, the heat signatures of the orbs. 2, you can see the cold lines in front of the orbs consistent with a negative energy, let's call it laser, in front of them, where they're pulling away. They're basically creating space in front of them, or pulling the energy, 0-point fluctuations, out of the space directly in front of them. They're just pulling space around them like an Alcubierre drive does. And then the third one is the ZAP, the endothermic event, which is the first ever publicly available wormhole that's ever been shown to the public in science fiction or real videos. There's not even a science fiction version of a ZAP like this. As far as I know, nobody in any movie, sci-fi or otherwise, has ever claimed that we're looking at an endothermic event in their video. If somebody can show me one, I would love to see one, because I've seen just about every sci-fi movie out there. Never seen anything like this. Now, the reason why I'm pushing on this right now is because I already see what's going to happen in the future. There's going to be people saying, well, yeah, he was right about the physics, but those videos still aren't real. I can already see it, guys. Book it, bookmark this, whatever. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say, yeah, well, he was right about the science, but he just got lucky. The footage can't be real. No. I'm right because this footage is real. That's the only reason. I would not be here right now with talking about any of this unless that footage is real. Yep. And Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn, once again, is the guy that leaked this. I mean, I literally had to identify the leaker of the videos. This is how much actual journalism I had to do, is I had to actually find out who the guy was that leaked it, look through all the damn court martials that are out there, and find the guy that checks every box. And I was reading an article earlier today, guys. He's the guy, man. It's Edward C. Lynn, dude. I'm going to just read it to you guys real quick because this is crazy. Where is it? Shit, maybe I don't have it. Here it is. Okay. Then we're going to go on to our next thing. We got a lot more to get through here, guys. I can't believe this chat. Like, look at this Edward C. Lin thing, guys. They say he may have passed highly sensitive information on how the United States and its surveillance aircraft gather and process signals intelligence. What do you think he could have possibly leaked that would tell people how we access signals intelligence and process signals intelligence? The answer is so clear. This is what he leaked. This is the thing that he leaked that tells our adversaries how we process signals intelligence, because it's not a conventional video. This is a video that's using signals intelligence that is being produced by a computer program. That's what this is right here. And we know that because we see him logged in to the Citrix session. We see him press the start button right above me here, and when the mouse comes onto the screen. And then he starts recording, and then the mouse screen is moving around. Now, if you are China, you know how our spy satellite system works. You know how we process signals intelligence because you're staring at it right here. That's what that says right there, chat. So we go back to this. The intelligence could not only help the Chinese People's Liberation Army counter U.S. surveillance efforts, but also help China hone its own indigenous platforms. So also it's linking this footage to the spy plane. Basically saying they can make spy planes that can take the signals intelligence, the videos that we saw, and they can make videos in real time. It even mentions the South China Sea here, which is like exactly where this plane disappeared. So the plane goes dark in the South China Sea, just, coincidentally as well. Pretty wild. Okay. Yeah, you got the book thrown at them too. Like, it's crazy that if you either believe or don't believe the videos, like either way, all you have to do is go find Edward C. Lin. I mean, he's got to lie. If he's not the guy, or if he's the guy, he either lies or he doesn't lie about it, right? The guy's a hero for leaking that footage, because I would never be here without him. I wouldn't know anything about this physics today. I would still be probably a CNN brain person with no motivation or purpose in my life. And now I have one. I'm gonna prove that technology and science is real, and I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna play around with it. I'm gonna figure out how it works. So the last thing I'm gonna say on this is that just like this science is only knowable to me because of those videos, because I can reverse engineer it. I'm going to reverse engineer how free energy works. I'm going to reverse engineer how gravity works. In fact, I'd argue I've already gone most of the way with it. I've intentionally not talked about all of the engineering aspects. Same reason why I deleted a video a couple weeks ago. I don't want to explain all the engineering aspects to it because I'm actually that scared that it's actually real. If I didn't think it was real, I wouldn't have any problem discussing all the engineering aspects to it, but I'm well past that point. And if you are one of those people that says, well, you should just tell us whatever, watch my streams, read for yourself the stuff that I review. Okay. It's all in there. I promise you. I'm not trying to be coy. I'm just saying, like, if you actually read the stuff that I show and the science that I show, you're going to see what the answers are to the engineering aspects of it. And I talk about the theories behind it openly, very openly, more so than any scientist will ever talk to you that knows. So there you go, guys. What are we up to next here? Okay, let's take a quick look at the Salvatore Pais thing. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to play this John Ramirez clip again, because I want people to realize, guys, like, all this stuff is coming together. The fact that the UFO community is so hilariously wrong about the MH370 videos is extremely ironic, because we're revealing the science. All of the people that are in this UFO community, like these scientists of UFO lore, are the very people whose science that I'm promoting. The UFO disclosure advocates are saying the exact same things that I'm saying. I'm just taking it a step further, and I'm literally explaining how the physics is possible and the history of the physics, like as much detail as you possibly can go. Even giving dates as to when we figured it out. So let's listen to, and then the fact that John Ramirez right here, John Ramirez literally calls out, he literally calls out Eric Davis here. And oh, look at me, I'm getting little lovey chats. Thank you very much, Kelly. Yeah, I'm 6'3". I'm actually really tall, guys. If you saw my picture from Vegas, I posted. Okay.
It was very, very insightful to see who was on that bigot list and who was not on the bigot list. Now, secondly, I happen to know Eric Davis in a way that he does not know I know him.
Okay, so guys, you just heard John Ramirez say, firstly, it's insightful to see who's on these bigot lists. Bigot list is the secret list of people who are in the know for an operation, who are cleared to know the information about the operation. And then he goes, secondly, I know Eric Davis in a way he doesn't know I know him, which means he's seen information about Eric Davis that Eric Davis does not know. So intelligence information. We can add 1 + 1 = 2 here, right? He's clearly saying that he's seen Eric Davis's name on a bigot list, that Eric Davis has information about classified projects. And then he's a smart guy, so he Googles Eric Davis. And he goes, what is Eric Davis working on that would make him be on this bigot list? And you find out it's teleportation physics study and ball lightning study and extracting energy, you know, like all these things. It's like, okay, now he knows something weird is happening, right?
And I can't reveal, I don't have his permission from Dr. Eric Davis to reveal how I would know him. But there are several CIA officers in a managerial capacity that knew him. And so I hope that Eric Davis will reach out to me.
Several CIA officers in a managerial capacity that know Eric Davis. Like what more? What do you got? How do you guys think they know him? Right? Like I want to like, is there any? There's no other interpretation of that, right? Like he is connected to intelligence. He's connected to advanced technology. That's the only way this makes any sense here in terms of what he's saying. And people ask, I think it's wrong to call these guys bigots. That's funny because I told my mom this story about the bigots, and she's like, bigot means something else where I'm from. I'm like, yes, I know, but this is not what we're talking about. I'm talking about spy list here. Being a bigot is so into it these days. Yeah. How does John Ramirez talk about this stuff? Because you guys have to realize, like, John Ramirez is speaking very vaguely, but he's a very intelligent guy. He's very intelligent in terms of what he's saying here. I saw the thing about contact in 2027, but I want to see a direct quote. A lot of this stuff gets completely taken out of context when some of these guys speak. Which is why I like to listen to the direct quotes from them, because I don't generally interpret it the same way the UFO community interprets it. But this can only be interpreted one way. Eric Davis knows. Now, some people say, like, for example, Kiki here, I have mixed feelings on Eric Davis. Eric Davis knows about this shit, and he's not speaking publicly about it. Okay? He knows about advanced technology. He knows that wormholes are real. He knows that ball lightning, plasma orbs are real, and he's not talking about it. He's not talking about it to anybody. So you could argue he's a gatekeeper. He probably is. He's probably a gatekeeper. But the world is just not that black and white, man. It's not that black and white. It's just a lot sketchier. Going back to the Ross Coulthart thing, Ross Coulthart doesn't realize that this is a doomsday weapon. When you look at it from the perspective of doomsday, like any physicist that goes through what I've been going through and understands zero-point energy is going to immediately realize it's a doomsday weapon. Well beyond nuclear weapons. There's no defense for this technology. This technology can be warped directly onto you. They can destroy the whole planet with this technology. And when you look at it from that perspective, you can see why these people would gatekeep it. We're not ready. I agree. We're literally not ready. But I'm still going to talk about it. Okay? Let's keep going.
Or I can reach out to him.
God, what is wrong?
To see if I can tell the rest of the story. And if you hear the rest of the story of how these CIA officers know Eric Davis, I think it will surprise you. based on the timeline of what Eric Davis was doing at the time, his work with the Air Force.
Guys, he literally says it will surprise you based on the work he was doing at the time in the Air Force Research Laboratory. That's what AFRL stands for up here in the top of this scientific paper. This is not speculation. He's literally talking about ball lightning. And when you go back here to this other one, just where is it? This one. The warp drive, AFRL. Like, this is Air Force Research Laboratory science. All these papers are. That's what these papers are from. So he's literally saying, isn't it weird that Eric Davis is on a bigot list and he's writing papers about teleportation physics study and ball lightning? Why else? Why would he be on those bigot lists? There's only one possible answer, guys. He's the scientist that is either researching the alien vehicles flying around, or he's going, hey, you need to explain to us whose these are. Are these Lockheed Martin's orbs? Are they Russia's orbs? Are they China's orbs, etc.? And then Eric Davis is going to go, well, yeah, we can do that. Here's the teleportation physics study. This is me explaining to you how that's possible. Because otherwise, people look at this video that I've been sharing here and they don't get it, right? Can you imagine like a general looking at this video with no context? They're going to go, what am I looking at here? This is the reason why Eric Davis is on the bigot list. The bigot list is the list of people that are read into classified projects above top secret. There's even Army generals are not on the list. Navy admirals are not on the list. Sometimes even the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency is not on the bigot list for some of these projects. That's what we learned from the John Ramirez interview. And yet he sees Eric Davis's name on it. Dead giveaway. Only one possible interpretation. He's a guy that knows.
At the time, his work with the Air Force Research Labs and his subsequent work with OSAC.
There you go. So then the next one here is we're going to look at the Joseph P. Farrell link.
But it was very, very insightful.
Okay, I have to figure out where the Joseph P. Farrell thing is. Give me 1 second, chat. It's in my bookmarks here. Oh, here it is. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of dark journalists in general. I have nothing against them, honestly, but I just kind of find him to be a little bit of a poser, I guess is the words that I would use to explain dark journalist. Joseph P. Farrell is obviously very knowledgeable. I don't know if he's just making educated guesses or what he's doing. For the record of the John Ramirez video, the John Ramirez video was uploaded on Project Unity's channel. You can take a look at it there if you want. I mentioned that in the replies as well. Yeah, OSAP is where Elizondo claimed to work, and also Eric Davis was linked to OSAP as well. Apparently, that's where I think the DIA papers came out of, is OSAP. I'm not 100% sure, though. I don't know all the lore. I just don't really care about all the lore. The problem with a lot of the lore is that there's so much drama and misinformation built into the lore of the UFO community. I don't care what somebody researched or who likes who more or whatever. Like, none of that shit matters to me. I just want to know what's the facts, what's the evidence, what does the science say? That's it. Whether or not Eric Davis is a gatekeeper of the information, I don't care. Whether or not Lou Elizondo is breaking his NDA, again, I don't care. I just want to get the information out. That's it. So here we go. Yeah, and the reason why, again, I'm not a fan of dark journalists is because he doesn't realize that the videos are real, the MH370 videos are real, which is probably the height of hypocrisy, because this guy literally talks to John Warner IV, and John Warner IV tells him that we've got like teleportation technology and that the black projects have it. And you're just like, bro, I'm literally telling you that these videos are the very thing that you say exists that are out there that you have no evidence for without these videos, which is what blows my mind. And Joseph B. Farrell, like less than a week after the plane disappeared, was already talking about United States using a super weapon on the plane and teleportation, and just wouldn't. I don't know if that's just an educated guess or if he was told by somebody or what. And yet I emailed Joseph P. Farrell. I follow him. I replied on his Twitter. Doesn't have any interest in talking to me. I mean, bro, just for the record, Joseph P. Farrell, there's only two ways this can go down. One is Joseph P. Farrell reaches out to me and we talk, and he probably ends up being famous because he literally guessed what happened on this plane, or he's going to be forgotten about, and I'm going to end up taking all the credit for it, and he's going to get none, because when people come to me and say, who figured it out, I'm going to go, well, Joseph B. Farrell did, but he was kind of an idiot and wouldn't talk to me about it, even though I am literally here telling the world that he got it right. You know, that's not going to look too good, but however you want to play it out, brother, I really, really don't care.
Nazi International.
Also, this hat situation right now is, ugh. It's like, what is it? Really rocking the fedora out right now on this interview? My God.
The Air Force team, when they interview him, can't figure out this guy. They're about half divided. The guy's a complete fraud and a mountebank, or he's some sort of mad genius. And this is exactly the way the Air Force report reads. It sums him up quite literally in the same paragraph by denouncing him as a fraud, a mountebank, a swindler, and as some sort of mad genius working in the 1970s.
Oh, wow.
In other words, we don't know what to make of this guy.
They're saying he's 20 years ahead.
He's 20 years ahead of where they're at. So Richter makes this claim, and in addition to this, folks, he says, well, I'm rotating my plasma, and I'm using radio Lamore precession frequencies, and I'm pulsing it with a lot of electricity, and I'm getting fusion out of this.
Okay. What? I might have to back it up. Do you guys know who he's talking about right here? I mean, he just explained ball lightning. He's going, I'm making a coherent ball plasma. I'm pumping high voltages through it, and I've got it oscillating at the maybe Lamore frequency. Well, we know high frequency resonance and high voltage is how you achieve these coherent effects. In fact, the Salvatore Paez documents, I actually forgot to look at the Salvatore Paez thing. We'll look at that in a minute, because Dave Rossi actually did a write-up about it and posted some of the screenshots and stuff. And he's basically saying that we can achieve superconductivity through resonance, even at high temperatures in a plasma. And this is what Joseph B. Farrell is saying right here. Is many of these people that they talk about the stuff that they're being told, but they don't understand like any of the science at an intuitive level. So they like just tell stories about it without realizing, like, yes, you're like Joseph B. Farrell, you're nailing it right now. What you're saying right now is exactly what Salvatore Paez has been saying to me, and in his patents and in his PDFs that he presented to, what is it, NavAir, which is like what, naval intelligence or whatever. I don't even know.
And this report, incidentally, is written in 1954. In other words, a year.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know what a monopole is, but they're talking about it. They don't even know that they're talking about it. This is the part where, like, and actually I was messaging Dave earlier and I was telling him, like, I've got to beat on Ross Coulthart now. Like, Ross Coulthart just doesn't understand any science whatsoever. And this is the problem with all these guys, is they don't even know enough science to understand the basis of the stuff that they're trying to disclose. Like, the moment you look at the dynamic Casimir effect, you realize that we can break the Schwinger limit, the Schwinger effect. And that's like ripping a hole through the fabric, or to the fabric, through the paint, through the energy. And that if we do that, it creates a magnetic monopole. Because what we have is also we can capture the photons. So we can turn virtual photons from the ether into real photons. And the side effect of that is a magnetic monopole, which is what? Like a black hole, something getting sucked in. So basically making a miniature black hole through extremely high energy densities in coherent plasmas. This is what he's explaining right now. But they don't understand any of the science, so they can't speak intelligently to it. They just go, I've heard these crazy stories. Well, it's like, yep, you're 100% right. And if you understood like enough of the science, you would be able to be as confident as I am right now about it.
Before all of this has had time to percolate through the American secret projects defense industry. And I think, therefore, it's got some direct tie-in to this Ripple technology. And you'll see more of the connections in just a minute. So what is this ripple technology? Well, if you go back to Richter, what Richter is telling you, I can even point you in the Nazi.
Oh yeah, this was Richter. Am I past it, guys? He talks about warp nukes. Actually, I don't remember where though.
International to the quotation where he says, I'm using plasmas and arc welder shock waves and more precession frequency to access the 0 point energy, and that's where I'm getting all this energy from.
Right.
Okay. Fusion.
I mean, Yahtzee chat. Yahtzee, do I have a Yahtzee button? I'm gonna play this one.
The Highlander was just a movie. I mean,
Oh, Frylock, The Highlander was a documentary, and the events happened in real time.
The events are happening in real time. Like these guys are telling, like Richter, like obviously knew exactly what was going on. Like this is how we got plasma. Like cold fusion is a form of harnessing 0 point energy
At temperatures way below atom bombs, Lamore precession frequency, rotating plasma, shock waves from arc welders, and voila, we get fusion.
Wow.
That in turn is accessing 0 point energy. Yeah.
Yes, low energy nuclear reactions. Literally what Bob Greenyer was talking about. Magnetic monopoles. There it is, right there.
This guy's a little ahead of the crowd.
Wow.
Okay,
Amazing.
okay. So what about Ripple? So what's going on with these Ripple tests and this 99.9% clean, as if the atom bomb component in the 10 megaton explosion doesn't even exist?
Wow.
Please note what I just said. The atom bomb component doesn't even exist. Folks, this is the holy grail of thermonuclear weapons, to be able to create a hydrogen bomb explosion without the need for the atom bomb to set it off.
It's unbelievable.
Because if you can achieve such a thing, you basically are radiation free. Yeah, you've got a lot of gamma rays and free neutrons flowing around because of the initial explosion. But after that, that's it.
He's talking about basically a black hole weapon right here. He's talking about a black hole super weapon right here. That's what he's mentioning. Using the 0 point energy for the energy in your nuclear explosion. Now you have a situation where it's not even radiation anymore on top of that. I don't remember if it's further back or forward. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can find it. 3045.
About the construction of hydrogen bombs in my book, The Grid of the God, to the operation at the last minute.
Wow.
Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're thinking in normal terms of yield to weight ratios,
no, it's
evidently, whatever happened in this test, I suspect strongly, doing this behind a paywall ago, in the Journal of Cold War Studies, as two neutrons and one proton in the nucleus. Okay,
it's tritium.
Tritium, tritium.
Okay, well,
it's the exact opposite of helium-3 in a certain sense. Okay.
Let's listen for another minute.
To compress deuterium tritium to high densities without the use of a pusher. A sustained ablatively driven implosion is made possible by use of a sustained driver input and a suitable ablator. Optimum pulse shapes, in other words, this is a guy thinking if we can just shape the shock wave driving the fusion properly, we can create a much cleaner bomb. That's what he's telling you right there.
Yeah.
Optimum pulse shapes make possible a very high isentropic compression of most of the deuterium tritium while igniting a central hotspot. The temperature of the hotspot is amplified by adjusting the pulse shape, there you are again, so that a strong shock is generated near zero radius, and by using a hollow target design containing of low-density deuterium tritium gas.
I mean, I think he's basically telling us how to make a super weapon using 0 point energy right here and using fusion power, which should be pretty much inevitable if you think through what fusion power is. Oh, I think Joseph P. Farrell's got great points, which makes me blow my mind that he doesn't recognize that, like, this is literally what he's seeing in these videos. I mean, if I'm Joseph P. Farrell and this is my life's work and all of a sudden this video comes out and I'm looking at this, I'm going, there it is. The very thing he's talking about. Now, I don't remember where here he talks about it. Somewhere in this interview, though, he talks about warp nukes.
Plasma.
Wow. Whoa.
Whoa. Gets better. The author of the article says, well, what does this optimized pulse shape look like? A description can be found in the physics of inertial fusion. In other words, this is also related to your ability to create a fusion reactor. So in other words, the same thinking, the same concepts, I want people to latch their mind around this. The same concepts that are building the clean bomb can also build a clean reactor.
Oh, yes.
Oh, now it's getting interesting.
No required nuclear meltdown possibility, nothing.
Nothing. Quote, fast and nearly isentropic compression, however, can be achieved by superimposing a sequence of shocks. That's key. In principle, going to the limit of an infinite number of shocks of infinitesimal strength. Let me repeat that one, folks.
Infinite.
Because if you're following the logic here, what he just told you was take your A-bomb and throw it out completely.
He's talking about amplifying energy here. You know, this is exactly what Salvatore Pais was talking about, guys.
Wow.
An infinite number of shocks.
Okay, I'm going to skip
shaped
ahead.
carefully, such that shocks co application of nascent inertial with entirely non-nuclear elements.
Where they're at and how suppose
could be invented to energize a tiny radiation implosion.
They don't even need.
You don't.
Yes.
Well, first of all, you got to create an X-ray laser. It creates an actual functioning technology to create a hydrogen bomb. In this meeting, Mr. President.
Okay, I don't know where he talks about it, chat. So I'm just going to speak to it. Somewhere during this interview, he also talks about the idea of warp nukes. And he goes, if you have warp technology, then you're unstoppable. You can literally, there's no defense for it. You can literally just warp a nuke onto somebody. There's no anti-missile capability whatsoever. I would say, yes, of course that's true. And that's extremely scary. But what's even more scary is the same thing that we've been afraid of from the CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, which is literally creating a black hole. If you have the capability to amplify energy, which is what was just being described on that video, wherever, then you have the capability to amplify energy up as high as you need it to go. And you can get it to go high enough where you can create a doomsday weapon. So, guys, this is what connects Ross Coulthart to Lou Elizondo, to disclosure, to what I've been talking about, to technology. Technology is a weapon. And this technology is a weapon that is so scary that even people like Eric Davis aren't out doing interviews. Maybe he doesn't think we're ready for it. I don't know what his motivations are. I'll be honest with you guys. I've never spoken directly to Eric Davis. I've never spoken directly to Hal Puthoff. I do believe their work is 100% legit, same as Salvatore Pais's work. I think that they all coincide. They all show the exact same thing. Okay, let's switch out of this. Let's go back to that. Let's go switch course real quick to Sal Paez now. Okay. And before that, I'm just going to read this too, because this is a quote from Sal Paez here. I pulled this from one of his slides, by the way. Energy density tells space-time how to fluctuate. Space-time tells energy density how to propagate. So what he's saying here is that energy and mass are the ripples in our space-time, gravity. And the space-time, the geometry, tells energy density how to spread apart. And this is our ocean, literal ocean of energy. So mass and energy are interchangeable because E equals mc squared. So if you then look at space as an ocean, instead of an empty canyon filled with water, we realize that that energy is the fabric that binds, or the fabric that binds it is energy. Okay. The water is energy. Therefore, gravity is the mass energy that tells the object or how to flow, what direction they're going to go. That's what gravity is. Just an induced effect of our currents in our ocean. Space-time is the void, nothingness that mass energy fills on top of it. So space-time is the canvas. Mass energy is the paint. Eventually, it reaches an equilibrium, like a calm body of water. The ocean wakes whatever, equalize out. Therefore, we can increase or decrease the mass energy and cause a positive or negative energy pressure. This is the manipulation of gravity in space-time. And the vacuum of space is not empty. And this graphic shows it perfectly well. All this blue area here, it has energy in it. The energy of the planet, because the planet in this case is just a ball of energy, very dense ball of energy. You can see it manipulate the medium. So how do we manipulate the medium? We just create an energy density in a localized region, very specific one. Okay. And I'm not going to be talking about consciousness and all that other stuff, guys. I'm already got enough going on. You know, if people want to try to figure out the answer to everything, go nuts. That's for me. Don't care. I mean, I care in the sense that, like, of course, it's nice to know what the meaning of life is, but we got enough going on here. Apparently, it's hard enough just for people to understand basic physics, let alone metaphysics and trying to connect it all together. That's just it's too far beyond the pale, you know. Even the very people that are disclosing this technology, we've just listened to Lou Elizondo, we listened to Ross Coulthart, and we've listened to Joseph P. Farrell all today. None of them, even the people disclosing the technology, don't recognize it when they see it in front of them. So we're going to take baby steps on this one, chat. Baby steps. So the sad part is Lou Elizondo's out there selling a book right now, telling stories. Now, are those stories credible? Maybe, but they're just stories at the end of the day. Salvatore Pais has 5 patents that are written under the Navy, under the Department of Navy, and the Navy had to step in to get the patents approved. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I posted about this guy, Bernardo Kastrup or whatever. Did he block me? Chat, he blocked me, chat. So basically, Bernardo Kastrup is a fucking fraud, okay? Like, I want it to be 100% clear. This guy with the Ukrainian flag in his profile is a fraud. No one should listen to anything this guy has to say. If this guy writes an article, then you should assume that it's either just completely ignorant misinformation or or completely wrong, right? He actually blocked me. So this goes to show, like, the idiots that are trying to debunk people, like real Navy engineers like Salvatore Pais, they have no fucking clue what they're talking about, right? This Bernardo Kastrup guy does nothing about science. This guy is he's like a philosophy major or some stupid shit like that. I also watched an interview about this guy where he interviewed a guy that was like supposedly the highest IQ man in the world about consciousness, and he just makes an ass of himself on Theory of Everything podcast. It was like a year ago. I couldn't even get through it all. It was so terrible, dude. So he wrote this article about Salvatore Pais' patents, claiming to be an expert on patents. And ultimately, in my opinion, his conclusion was he thought it was like a marketing gimmick by the Navy. So Salvatore Pais saw that and was pretty pissed off, apparently. Because Salvatore Pais wrote this letter. This is actually from Salvatore Pais, basically saying, "My name is Dr. Salvatore Pais, mostly known for the highly controversial U.S. Navy patents. Before you publish worthless articles without technical merit or scientific substantiation, trying to deride the Pais effect, please perform due diligence and do your homework." This is Salvatore Pais, by the way, guys. Like, this is actually him who wrote this letter. So Salvatore Pais basically tells Bernardo Kastrup, "You're a fucking idiot. You don't know anything about science. You didn't do any scientific analysis on the patents whatsoever, and you tried to put them down out of ignorance." And then here he goes, in a period of 3 years, a team comprising of more than 30 U.S. Navy engineers, physicists, and technicians worked on trying to prove the Pais effect. However, because we could not obtain an electrical charge of at least 1 coulomb in the laboratory, it has not yet been proven. However, even with an electrical charge 8 orders of magnitude lower, 2 anomalies were observed in the laboratory and testing environment, saying that it's very likely, essentially, that this Pais effect is legitimate, guys. I'm going to skip through some of this. Findings were very positive. What's also interesting is the fact that the illustrious author, Bernardo Kastrup, and famed journalist Ross Coulthart, guys, knows of this SASC, this visit to PAX. What does SASC stand for? I assume he's talking about the slides, maybe. They've known for more than 2.5 years and chose not to publish this fact in his revised edition of In Plain Sight. So shit, Ross Coulthart's getting shouted out here too. I might have to put Ross Coulthart on even higher blast, guys. Basically, Salvatore Pais is saying that Ross Coulthart has known about the slides and the facts that this information went to PAX, and he's not published it. And in Ross Coulthart's book, In Plain Sight, he also he implies that the patents are disinformation to confuse Russia and China as well. So once again, Ross Coulthart is sketch as fuck, guys. Ross Coulthart's either a useful idiot that doesn't know anything at all about science, or he's a deceptive liar. That's the only two conclusions we can come to about Ross Coulthart. And that's not out of a personal vendetta towards him. We just know for a fact that he's a hypocrite. He does the very same journalist that the types of journalists that just claim that Russia blew up their own pipeline. That's like basically what Ross Coulthart is. And he's also, now we know for a fact that he ignored Salvatore Paius's evidence that the patents were real. That's pretty damning. If you're a journalist and somebody you wrote about comes and says you ignored evidence for 2.5 years that the patents were legit, that's pretty damning, man. I just need to probably clip that later. I didn't realize that was a thing. Okay, so Dr. Kastrup did not respond to his challenge, apparently. And then he's letting, I guess this is like the people that own the debrief or something, that this article is nonsense and that he wouldn't go for the patent or go for the discussion on it, I guess. And he's pretty upset, it looks like. Okay. So there you guys go. The actual guy, the real engineer that actually wrote the patents, literally called out the author and called out Ross Coulthart. And it turns out because I called out this author, now I'm blocked by the author as well. So this guy is, I just want to make it 100% clear that I'm stating this as a statement of fact. Bernardo Kastrup is a fraud. He's a fake journalist. No one should ever listen to anything this guy ever says for the rest of his life. Any article I see with the debrief on it, I'm going to bring up the fact that this guy's a fucking fraud. So, welcome to how your career ends, Bernardo Kastrup. I hope it was worth it, brother. And just to add, this is the evidence that these guys ignored, okay? So some of these slides are some examples that I'm sure that Salvatore Paius shared with them, because he shared this stuff with me. Now, here's the Victor Lochnow. If you guys watch my interview with him, my interview with Salvatore Paius, he brings this paper up, and I read this paper, and it basically says that using the right alternating current, alternating magnetic fields with a Bose-Einstein condensate, you can make a plasma that the critical temperature of superconductivity can rise to a degree where it's above room temperature, which is extremely high. There you go, guys. And then here, as well as his NAVAIR, Department of Navy, NAVAIR, SciTech Forum. And then here he mentions, now this is going to sound really familiar, guys. Consider that we are immersed in an ocean of energy, the vacuum energy state. Yet ordinarily, we do not seem to interact with it. This is because under normal circumstances, at or near equilibrium, the vacuum state is a homogeneous, isotropic, Lorentz variant. In other words, it is symmetric. So this is what he's saying right now. I can just tell from this, Salvatore Paius is saying the exact same thing that we are saying. And to be 100% clear, Salvatore Paius never told me, hey, this is how it works. This is what you need to believe. I just went and researched it myself. I just researched the stuff that Salvatore Paius was talking about. You guys can watch all the streams over the last year to figure out my journey and how I got here. It's obvious from reading this. Salvatore Paius believes that zero-point energy is the fabric of our universe. Because he says, break this symmetry, aka rip a hole through it, and strong interactions in the vacuum state become possible, thus affecting the manner in which collective fields exchange energy with one another. He's pretty much saying right there that we can extract energy, we can rip a hole in the fabric. There you go. NAVAIR is Naval Air Commands, for people who don't know. So, yeah. Let's just say, like, I know for a fact Salvatore Paius is not a joke, okay? He's worked on projects that are probably very sensitive. I'm not saying he worked on UFOs, but he's worked on projects that are sensitive for sure. I know. And then everything around us, ourselves, can be described as macroscopic collections of fluctuations, vibrations, or oscillations in quantum mechanical fields. And then here's some equations. Now, this is the one that I quoted in my piece right down here as well. And this is actually just an evolution of John Archibald Wheeler's statement where he says something about like mass is the movement of space-time or something like that. Okay. Okay, we dealt with that one. Let's see what else we got. Okay, Aaron Rodgers. We got Aaron Rodgers, Jeff Wise, and then Peter Thiel, guys. Yeah, I think that Ross Coulthart's good for a normie. Exactly. Like Ross Coulthart's good for somebody who believes that the New York Times tells you everything you want to hear. He'll ease you into the topic without really giving you anything of substance. End of the day. I forgot the most important thing about Ross Coulthart. Ross Coulthart's interview mentions that he's got an NDA. He's got an NDA. I speculated that about Ross Coulthart like about a year ago, and I did not know. This is the first time. Maybe he said it many times before, but Ross Coulthart multiple times said he has an NDA. Why would a journalist have an NDA? Sorry, what? The only possible way is for a similar reason to why I would have an NDA, which is that you come to an agreement with an entity that they're going to tell you some privileged information, probably about technology, and that you're not going to reveal that information. The only information that I could see why someone would have an NDA that they couldn't say where they're talking about aliens is that we've got weapons made out of this technology. And that's why you can't reveal it. Otherwise, I don't know what other classified information you wouldn't be able to reveal. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Ross and the giant UFO buried underground is always like, that's the most ridiculous shit ever, frankly, chat. Like that's the biggest like distraction story ever, or the watch Trump bullshit or whatever. Like, dude, I don't know if Ross Coulthart's just literal disinformation or if he's just like that dumb and he's just being used like that hard. But whatever's going on with Ross Coulthart, it's sketchy for sure. Lou Elizondo obviously lying because he has an NDA. Obviously not going to reveal anything about our capabilities, whatever. Ross Coulthart's situation though is, I don't know. Either he's a moron or he's just being misled. I really don't know. I don't know. Okay. Where's the Aaron Rodgers thing? So last week, Aaron Rodgers was asked about me. Now, I'm going to bring this up because like this stuff is also really helping us to understand what the situation is in terms of like normie people that are out there. Where is it? Oh, and I teased a scientific paper last week before I went to Vegas. I will be posting that. Okay, here we go. I don't know why my headset's so messed up. Shit, where is it? Why is this not? Where's the screen share? Shit, man. Where is it? Sorry, chat. I'm looking for the screen share. What the hell? Dude. Oh, this is it. Here it is. Found it. Okay, here we go.
Much like you in investigating different things and trying to find answers. And he's been dying to ask you this particular question because he's never heard your opinion on it. So this is Al Dukes, our executive producer.
Hi.
So this is here's your opportunity, Al.
So there's this guy on Twitter named Ashton Forbes who's been investigating the Malaysian air that disappeared.
Yeah.
And he's got a very extensive argument with what he claims are military videos and this sort of thing, that the U.S. government took the plane to Diego Garcia military base.
Aaron Rodgers is like, what the fuck, bro? He's like, I'm in training camp. You're asking me what happened. So guys, if you don't know who Aaron Rodgers is, the guy on the left, Aaron Rodgers is like one of the best quarterbacks in the football ever. He has been like basically the best quarterback for like, I don't know. He was the best quarterback for like 15 years straight as well. And also like on the team that my team is rivals to. So just pretty wild. But he's like he never got the COVID shot. Like he was against the restrictions. He said some controversial stuff, in my opinion, pretty based stuff. But let's just say left wing doesn't like Aaron Rodgers very much.
And it's very interesting. He supposedly was booked on Rogan, and then Rogan canceled him for some reason. Have you ever looked into that thing at all? And what do you think?
I have. I've seen some things. I think that I've seen some of their videos with the 3 objects circling the plane. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one for me.
Yeah,
so there we go. He's actually seen the videos. So Aaron Rodgers has seen the videos, and it's a hard one for him to understand and comprehend. Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the videos are extremely hard for people to believe. No doubt. There we go. Let's play it up.
What's weird is that it's really that guy, and I don't see a lot of other people talking about it. And I would think that'd be something like Rogan or somebody else would want to look into, because it's pretty compelling what the guy lays out.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. Compelling, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't spent a ton of time on it. I always thought it was interesting how the planes are able to disappear like that, because I believe there's still only 2 or 3 companies that make all the engines for the planes. They're able to track them. But I don't know. I mean, wasn't there
So he makes 2 great points here. Actually, 1 great point. The engines should have been able to be tracked. The Rolls-Royce engine should have been able to be tracked. Boeing should have been able to track this plane. That data was never made publicly available. They never even said about what they saw on their data either. How wild is that? If you don't know the story of the Joe Rogan stuff, apparently a lot less people know the story of Joe Rogan. Back in February, I'll say that, and then we'll jump. Actually, let's finish this, and I'll go to the Joe Rogan thing.
Wreckage in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, well,
they found wreckage, right? They found debris. The official search didn't find any debris. I'm going to repeat that. The official search found nothing. The debris that was found in Africa. Africa is the wrong continent if the plane crashed in the South Indian Ocean. All you have to do is look at a map, and you can see that the ocean currents flow to the east for you guys. Meaning the debris should have washed ashore where? In Australia. And yet no debris washed ashore in Australia, not one piece. So this is relevant because actually Jeff Wise never brought this up. The reason why Jeff Wise in the video we're about to watch never brought this up is because Jeff Wise's theory is not consistent with the debris showing up in Africa. In fact, pretty much only an endpoint around Diego Garcia is consistent with the debris washing up in Africa. We've shown through drift analysis, it's actually impossible for the debris to have crashed in the South Indian Ocean and then showed up in places like South Africa. It's not possible. Not in the period of time, like in a year or whatever it was to find the debris. Which people just ignore all logic and facts when it comes to this plane for some reason.
They claim
just a little bit of it.
Yes. Yeah.
I've actually been going back and watching one of my favorite shows during this training camp, Lost. So,
of course,
a lot of similarities, right, with that one.
Yes. Yeah, there's similarities to Lost, but this plane didn't go to a deserted island and then fall out of space and time. At least I don't think that it did, because these phones were still ringing afterwards, so they were somewhere on Earth.
Whitmore hit a bunch of fake planes built at the bottom of the ocean. Although with Lost, there's so many weird storylines going on. You never know what the hell's going on half the time.
I would be thinking you'd be watching the San Francisco defense.
Here we go.
Big old boomer here, the old school NFL guy.
Yes,
here he comes, bursting through the door.
Okay, so there's that video. One sec. Okay, guys. So the Joe Rogan situation. If you don't know about the Joe Rogan situation, back in February of last year, I got a direct message from Joe Rogan. I was shocked, saying he wanted to talk to me about the plane situation. So I said, yeah, sure, Joe, whenever you want. Said, you want to talk on the phone beforehand or whatever? I said, sure. And we had it all booked up. Like I was responding to emails from his booking agent. The date was March 25th. I actually selfishly wanted the date to be like March 8th, which was the 10-year anniversary of the plane disappearing, but whatever. the next day, the first thing that happened is I got a response back from Joe Rogan's booking agent, an email saying, "Oh, that date's not going to work out, blah, blah, blah." And that was it. And then I got the message from Joe Rogan saying, "I think this might be a hoax. Here's like the Reddit post about it and the Danny Jones interview were the things that he sent me." And I sent him back like maybe 2 short paragraphs being like, "Dude, I've done like 80 podcasts and like Danny Jones and Julian Dory were like the only ones that did me dirty. Like you can watch like any of the rest of them." And as a podcaster, I would have thought that he would respect that. Like, you know, having a normal conversation as opposed to like having like a mainstream hit job kind of get done on you, but he didn't. And I explained the situation with, I think it was the cloud pictures, maybe. I don't really remember. I'd have to go look. So either way, I didn't really press the issue. That was pretty much the last time that I messaged Joe Rogan. Was I just said, "Okay, man, don't worry about it." I think I also told him, weirdly enough, I told him to try to get an interview with Hal Puthoff. So, and I could post those DMs. I literally told Joe Rogan, like, if you don't believe me, don't believe the science is real, get an interview with Hal Puthoff. At the time, I didn't really know Hal Puthoff's science that well. I just knew that he was a guy that was connected to engineers in the U.S. Military. Later, I would come to find out that Hal Puthoff's science is like it. Like if Joe Rogan interviewed Hal Puthoff, he's going to say all the same shit that I'm saying with respect to the science, if he was asked. So that's kind of how that played out. Then the big drama around it was that, like I mentioned, that Joe Rogan had reached out, and I told this on a stream. The debunkers lost their minds. They had Keemstar they had me give Keemstar photos of it, and then even Keemstar thought that I faked it because there was no like verification symbol or something on the message. And I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know why there's not a verification symbol on the message. So then I took a video of it. Keemstar posted the video. So then apparently the debunkers, some of them somehow reached out to Joe Rogan's production crew, like Jamie Vernon or whoever else, I don't know. And they confirmed that it actually all played out, which of course it did, because I've never lied about any of this stuff ever before, nor do I have a reason to lie about any of this stuff. So there you go. Keemstar doesn't know much, and it seems like he's completely backed out of the UFO community, by the way. I had a chat with Tupacabra and the Skyfire News guys, which, whatever. I don't really care. Okay. So there you guys go on that. Any other questions on that stuff? I hope not. So I want to get to the next thing. Okay, next is the Jeff Wise thing. We're not going to be able to get through the whole Jeff Wise thing, but the good news is most of the Jeff Wise thing is just trash anyway. Like, so this guy makes a whole YouTube video about me. Let's talk about UFOs. 3 days ago, only has 600 views, and I've been talking about it. Jesus Christ, Chad. Okay, hold on. Here we go. First of all, what I want to say about Jeff Wise before we look at this, guys. Why the hell couldn't Jeff Wise and I just be friends? Like, I don't get people that have, like, know nothing about me, won't reach out to me, won't even talk to me. They all want to make shit up about me, right? Like, it's actually crazy to me that, and whoever just said that, yeah, Forbes Puthoff on the Joe Rogan podcast, I would absolutely go on with Hal Puthoff, because I would be able to tee him up. I'd be like, hey, Hal, what do you think about your gravity as explained by 0 point energy paper, you know? So, Jesus Christ. So Jeff, I'm just going to let it play. You guys are going to love it.
Back in 2014, I appeared on a panel on a CNN show that subsequently went on to become one of the most widely ridiculed and mocked shows in CNN history.
Wait, Jeff Wise was on this panel?
What if it was hijacking or terrorism or mechanical failure or pilot error? But what if it was something fully that we don't really understand? A lot of people have been asking about that, about black holes and on and on and on and all of these conspiracy theories. Let's look at.
Wait, which one? Oh, there he is. Yeah, he's in the middle. Look how young he looks right there in the top middle. Okay, honestly, this part's so stupid, I don't even want to play it. This woman's an idiot.
So you love the theory.
To the American culture of 2014, suggesting a plane could get swallowed by a black hole was so dumb as to be laughable.
He's, first of all, chat, he's so mad. I can just tell already how upset Jeff Wise is here. And the reason why I'm laughing is like, what does he have to be upset about, right? Like, somebody came up with a theory about the plane that is extremely compelling. And why is he mad? Because he's not getting the clicks. He's not getting the views. That's what he cares about. How do I know that? Because he mentions it 3 times in a 40-minute window here. This is only 40 minutes long. He mentions the fact that I'll never get as many clicks as Ashton Forbes. He mentions it 3 times in this, which is crazy. You want to know the craziest part? I don't give a shit about clicks at all. I've never cared about clicks. Not even once, guys. Like, this guy's literally made his whole career about this plane. I could care less. I'm just trying to get the truth out about some floaty orbs that are going out there. And ideally, maybe we get some closure for the family members, right?
But how times have changed. Today, one of the most popular pieces of MH370 content is a video that purports to show MH370 being swallowed by, well, not a black hole, but a wormhole or a interdimensional portal.
I love he can't just let it be at a wormhole. He's got to say that it's an interdimensional portal because he's got to like try to sass on it a little bit. Yes, it's a fucking wormhole, Jeff. The plane's literally disappearing out of space-time in 2 perfectly in sync videos that are military footage or are meant to look like military footage. Isn't that like a little bit weird, man? Like, that alone is more evidence than we have of any other story that's happened to this plane. Like, these videos, whether or not you want to believe them, this is the best evidence that's out there for what happened to this plane. Otherwise, this plane just disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, you tell me, man. It went to Russia secretly. That's the more logical story. That it landed somewhere in Russia that nobody knows about where it landed. Come on, man.
All while being swarmed by UFOs.
Chat, it gets better. If the look on his face right now, listen to this next part. The reason why I'm playing it through is because this next part is amazing.
Now, it's no skin off my nose, but since I have an MH370 site, people are always writing in saying, hey, you should check out this guy, Ashton Forbes. He's figured out what happened to MH370. Or, hey, what do you think about Ashton Forbes and the UFOs that kidnapped MH370? I've been resisting putting in my 2 cents, but okay, fine. Today, I'm going to talk about Ashton Forbes, and I'm going to tell you what I think about the UFOs that stole MH370.
I love it, chat. He gets emailed nonstop about me. That is the biggest win I could have gotten all weekend. I was sitting in a hotel in Vegas, and somebody messages to me, and he's like, his feelings are so hurt. The hurt feelings are on display, open display here. I get emailed all the time about Ashton Forbes. What do you think about Ashton Forbes? What do you think about the videos? He's like, I have to finally, and he's avoided talking about me for like 9 months, and now finally he's going to bring it up. The funniest part is I've tried to talk to Jeff Wise multiple times. I tried to DM him. I tried to get him to look at the Catherine T situation. I tried to get him to look at the fire scenario, stuff that he could accept. And he just wouldn't talk to me about any of it. And everybody that I have talked to about Jeff Wise tell me that he's a piece of shit. How do I know that? Because he spread the pilot suicide myth in the New Yorker. We found out he's the one that started that myth. He's the one that went on a Netflix documentary and he tried to vilify Blaine Gibson as some kind of Russian spy. Like, Jeff Wise he's living in a glass house. He doesn't have any stones to throw at anybody else. The Jeff Wise is the #1 source of misinformation on the entire planet right now, at least regarding the MH370 case. So I'm going to skip ahead here because reality is for the next 15 minutes, all they talk about is 9/11. So he gets this guy on here. First of all, he says, like, who are you? He's like, I write a book about 9/11 and conspiracy stories and conspiracy theories. And they talk. Look, here it is. Where's the picture? There it is. 9/11 myths. So he brings on a guy to debunk 9/11 stuff. And they don't even talk about the missing plane for like 15 minutes into this. They talk about like, and the best part, shout out real quick to my boys, Sensei Mike and Danny from, not Danny Jones, from the Vegas trip. Those guys are awesome. They hooked it up, chat. We had a baller time. I was sitting there with Sensei Mike and we were watching the video and I'm like, watch this, dude. They're not even going to talk about MH370 at all. And I see him pull out the 9/11 book and I'm like, what is this, dude? Like, I'm not even a 9/11 truther. The 9/11 people hate me more than anybody else. The 9/11 people hate me. The flat earthers hate me. Like, you know, I'm not really a conspiracy guy in general. It just happens that MH370 is obviously a cover up. So yeah, so they talk about, they try to link me to 9/11 stuff here. And that's all they talk about for like the first 15 minutes.
Something stranger. And, you know, for example,
and they try to talk about like, oh, these people have to believe this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you're the one ignoring the evidence. Like I'm like, is he going to actually refute any evidence throughout this whole thing? And I think it's like, I don't know, somewhere around here, he finally talks about the evidence.
That I think has a similar dynamic to some of these other delusional belief communities in that.
And like what he's doing right now is called poisoning the well. If you guys are not familiar with it, is that you try to ridicule the topic and you try to say like, oh, these people that believe this are delusional or they're unstable or they've got something weird going on. It's like, dude, just address the evidence, right? Like I've got a mountain of evidence that's out there, including from the videos, witnesses of the fire event, all this stuff. Address any of the evidence. I mean, maybe the weakest point is that I'm claiming that the Inmarsat pings are falsified. And why are they falsified? Because the people that are responsible for disappearing this plane is the United States government, and they're connected to Inmarsat. I mean, that's pretty damn easy. They gave the pings to bloggers like Jeff Wise, and why would you give the pings to some bloggers? Why not just do the analysis yourself and to tell us where the plane ended up? So let's skip ahead a little bit.
Addictive. And so this is an important part of the information environment that I think really didn't exist back in 2005, where you have an information environment that is so dependent or so centered even really on social media, where you don't have gatekeepers. The people themselves, or maybe the algorithm is the gatekeeper.
How can we say that there's no gatekeepers? I've been gatekept out of MH370 and the UFO community as hard as you possibly could. Nobody from MH370 investigators will talk to me because basically they all end up just being frauds. And same thing's true about the UFO community. I just scooped them on disclosure. I explained how the science works and the technology works. And so none of them will talk to me either because it exposes them all as incompetent at best and frauds at worst. So yeah, there's definitely gatekeeping still going on.
The algorithm sees people clicking. But as I say, they've largely been supplanted in influence and importance by social media. And so you can't just really stand.
Yep.
I don't.
And so that
this guy never says
anything.
anything.
I think they were trying to. No, they were too careful. The case was.
An Australian journalist who had written about MH370 disappeared. And this is the kind of thing that seems suspicious. And this person's like, why don't you find answers? Like, why don't you dig into this? And I'm like, I don't. It seems weird. I don't know. What am I going to do with that? There's nowhere it's going to take me. It's, this kind of.
This is the perfect insight to Jeff Wise, right? Someone tells him, look at these videos. It might even been me. Why not dig into this? Where is this going to take me? Well, it might take you to the truth, Jeff. It's 10 years later and we're missing a fucking airplane, Jeff. Like, it's time to stop thinking so, homogeneously and start thinking a little bit outside the box on this.
Just asking questions. There were all these software engineers aboard MH370. Why don't you go look at that? I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess it sounds like kind of uncanny, but.
Yeah, 20 software. No, they're not just software engineers. They're semiconductor engineers. Semiconductors, like the microchips that all advanced technology use, there's 20 of them on the plane. I mean, again, this is not even like video related stuff. This is just straight up evidence. 20 people from the same company that's tied to U.S. aerospace and defense that are producing advanced microchips. 8 of them are from China and they work for an American company and they're going to Beijing. And that's way too many people for one plane. At most, there should be 2 or 3 people from the same company. That's an immediate red flag. That's a bigger red flag than any Russians on board the plane. Like, that's your number one motive. Obviously, Jeff Wise hasn't watched enough true crime stuff or anything like that, because anybody that's even a partial investigator should be able to figure out that the semiconductor scientists are obviously somehow connected to the disappearance of this plane. And it just so happens to turn out they might be directly connected to the technology. They might be directly connected to the technology we see.
It doesn't lead me anywhere.
And this is for Jeff. Like, for him, it doesn't lead him anywhere. He doesn't get it. Like, that somehow doesn't make sense to him. How does that not lead you anywhere, man? The United States took the plane, and you've got 20 engineers that are connected to U.S. aerospace and defense. And the NSA was researching their microchips in 2005. What do you mean it doesn't lead you anywhere, dude? It leads you to the answer.
And so what you get is this kind of fog of suspicion, and like nothing is really reliable.
By the way, this is the guy that thinks that Russia stole the plane with no evidence whatsoever. He just thinks that Russia stole the plane.
Peter Pomerantsev wrote this book that even just the title of it is a meal. Nothing is true and everything is possible. And it kind of refers to the kind of information environment that an autocracy really thrives in, is one in which the people are unable to really get their hands on the truth. Everything is...
Yeah, we're going to skip. I'm trying to get to the part. He talks about the Inmarsat pings here.
No source of information can really be trusted. But at this...
Oh, but I have to make another point here. So he's talking about, like, no source of information can be trusted. This isn't what I'm doing. This is what he's doing. This is what Jeff Wise and all the other investigators do. Everything that they don't like, they throw out. All the witnesses support a fire event. He's the one that's throwing it out, saying it can't be trusted. I'm saying we can trust it. We should take all the information. We should trust the witnesses. We should trust the witnesses in the Maldives. We should trust the fire suppression bottle in the Maldives. We should trust the Chinese Mayday call of the plane disintegrating and landing. We should trust the videos that we're seeing. Jeff Wise is the hypocrite here. He's the one saying we can't trust any of that. The only thing that we can trust is that the United States government gave us some satellite pings 2.5 months later. Those are unfalsifiable. Those cannot possibly be faked. Everything else is fake. That's not fake. That's what Jeff Wise literally believes. Not me. I believe the exact opposite. I believe that 10 rows on an Excel spreadsheet is easy to fake, especially if you get 10 weeks to fake it, versus 20 witnesses that don't know each other that are all corroborating the same event. People in the Maldives also corroborating the event. A fire suppression bottle that's from a Boeing 777 washing up there. 2 military videos in perfect synchronization with no discrepancies on them. He's the one dismissing the evidence, not me.
The same time, so you're very skeptical, you're very cynical about the sort of the truthworthiness of anything, but then there's that skepticism is partnered somewhat paradoxically with credulity, with this idea that like some other idea comes down the pike that doesn't really have any kind of factual underpinnings, and you grab onto it with both hands.
The irony here again, he's just projecting his own insecurities here. He's like, literally, this guy got kicked out of the independent group because he claimed that Russia took the plane and flew it to Russia. There's no evidence for it. No factual underpinnings, as Jeff Wise would say right here. And he's the one trying to admonish me for the very thing that he's done. That's not what I did. I actually went to the experts and I said, can you explain the reason why there's this massive discrepancy in the satellite pings the moment the plane gets to the location where we have our coordinates and our videos here? And their answer was what? It's normal. It's normal. It can't be normal because you did a novel analysis that's never been done to satellite pings before.
Yeah. And so there's no real, it's like faith. It's like religious faith. And like you're grabbing onto something for no real discernible.
What I'm doing is as far away from religious faith as you possibly could get. What I'm doing is called the scientific method, pulling up a hypothesis, matching the evidence to your hypothesis, and kind of come to the truth of it. What he's doing is a weird religious faith based on MSNBC propaganda about Russia.
Reason, except it just feels, it's all vibes. It's what feels like you need to.
By the way, the guy talking about it's all vibes right now in a few minutes is going to say that there's mathematical reasons why Russia took this plane. I'm not joking.
It's an
grab onto
emotional
it.
truth that you were talking about.
I don't know where it
earlier,
is. It's got to be
rather
coming up here.
than a truth based on facts. And I suppose Pomerantz wouldn't include his own book.
That sort of which was so prevalent in MH370, which is, you know, when MH17 was shot down, and MH370, and it was all nonsense. But again, you create a sort of smoke screen in which nothing is easily discernible. There is no concept of truth. You know, you create your own sense of gibberish and incoherence, and then you say everything is coherent and gibberish. So
that's literally what Jeff Wise does, is he just makes up gibberish, like pilot suicide nonsense, makes up stuff about the plane going to Russia, and then he just tries to make it coherent in his own mind.
Your book was about debunking,
right.
You know, and I think when the Trump era began, that turned out to be, in my opinion, not a very successful experiment. Countered that, if like you would say, oh no, this thing actually isn't true, and then other people would say, oh no, David is actually he's the one who's lying now.
Well, that did come up actually.
So he's kind of talking about debunking. He says something in here about Ashton debunked all the debunkers, and like that's not fair or something like that. And somebody else pointed out like that's just called like having an alternative opinion, right? Like people don't have to all agree on everything, you know, like it's not all one homogeneous opinion. Just because someone doesn't think it's real doesn't mean that it is, right? And like this is again the problem with some of these people. Like he's just like, yeah, like Ryan saying, he's a literal drone. He's an NPC. We know what Jeff Wise is now.
Out of left field, the Spanish Americans, and we were accused, of course, I would say, dimension or conspiracy from standards. And it's man
playing the 370 where Ashton Forbes' story to make any sense, the plane had to have been abducted basically through a wormhole pretty soon after it disappeared from primary radar, meaning that all of the Inmarsat data.
Here it is right here. We are 26 minutes in, chat. This is 26 minutes into this thing, and this is the first piece of evidence that Jeff Wise has brought up. 26 minutes in. For the record, if I'm doing a video on Jeff Wise where I have somebody come on, we are going to be just going through the factual evidence piece by piece. I wouldn't be having this like 25-minute conversation about mainstream morons that believe MSNBC shit. You know, like I wouldn't be talking about that because it doesn't matter. I'm doing that now because I'm pointing out the hypocrisy of Jeff Wise. So like this is it's just sad, honestly. Here we go.
Data for the next 6 hours was fabricated. Well, where does the Inmarsat data come from? Inmarsat actually has ties to like the American security establishment. That's real, actually. That's
the only piece of evidence he mentions. He agrees that Inmarsat is connected to U.S. intelligence. That's real. That's it. For the rest of this, he doesn't address any more evidence. That was it. Yes, I'm telling you, Jeff Wise and everybody else, the only piece of evidence I have to throw out is 10 rows on an Excel spreadsheet that are tied to United States intelligence, who are the very people that are implicated in the disappearance of the plane. You take that evidence how you will. If you think that's just totally normal, that a plane can disappear and that the only evidence that we have of the plane going to the South Indian Ocean is some people that are tied to United States intelligence, and they won't do the analysis themselves. They give it to bloggers to do the analysis so that the bloggers can go lie to the world. You don't see what they're doing here. They're using you as what we call a useful idiot, where they give you fake data. They have you come to the conclusion, and then you present the conclusion. That way, if something goes wrong and they end up having to admit it later on, they can say, well, we never came up to that conclusion. Like the bloggers did that. We just gave them the data, and they're the ones that came up with it.
That's not a conspiracy. And of course, you know, Malaysia does joint military exercises with the United States. So the military is a great focus for.
Yes, there was literally military exercises going on in the area too. 100%. Like this is important evidence if you're trying to understand the story of when the plane disappeared and who might be responsible. Do you really think that Russia stole a Boeing 777 and it flew right past our active military exercises in the Andaman Sea? Of course it didn't. Again, this doesn't require conspiratorial thinking.
Conspiratorial beliefs, because kind of same critical light can be shined back on me.
What is going on?
I
My
have
headset,
famously
dude.
Posited that the Russians did it, And it's not just, I mean, and people say, well, you just think the Russians would do anything. You just think the Russians are evil. That's why you would suggest this. And I'm like, actually, no, there's mathematical reasons why I think the Russians did it. I actually don't dislike Russians as people. I don't have a lot of fondness for Putin himself, but that, I mean, the information environment does become a kind of hall of mirrors where you shine an accusatory light on someone and it just reflects back at you. And
did he say the thing about Russians, guys? About the mathematical stuff?
And so you say, well, this is fake news. And then that person says, no, you're fake news. I mean, the word fake news is more used by Trump against his attackers than vice versa. You know?
Did he say the Russian thing, chat?
No?
Yeah. I mean, when there have been civilian airliners shot down by military, first of all, there is the
pin in this topic. People are constantly, there have been a lot of videos debunking Ashton Forbes. But then he goes on podcasts and says, no, I have actually debunked the debunkers.
Oh, he did just say it? Shit. Okay, well, you guys, yeah, okay, you guys heard it then. Yeah, he said there's mathematical evidence that Russia took the plane. I want him to do that mathematical evidence for us, guys. Show me the mathematical evidence that Russia took the plane, chat. And then, yes, he goes, he debunks the debunkers here. So, let's go back a second.
You say, well, this is fake news. And then that person says, no, you're fake news. I mean, the word fake news is more used by Trump against his attackers than vice versa, you know?
Yeah. Well, it was an incorrect rationale, but like when the Soviets shot down the Korean airliner.
I actually don't dislike Russians as people. I don't have a lot of fondness for Putin himself, but that, I mean, the information environment does become a kind of famously posited that the Russians did it. And it's not just, I mean, and people say, well, you just think the Russians would do anything. You just think the Russians are evil. That's why yeah, the Americans would do this. That's the kind of thing that they would do. And conversely, but that kind of same critical light can be shined back on me. I have kind of famously posited that the Russians did it. And it's not just, I mean, and people say, well, you just think the Russians would do anything. You just think the Russians are evil. That's why you would suggest this. And I'm like, actually, no, there's mathematical reasons why I think the Russians did it.
Oh, he's not just, guys, there's mathematical reasons why the Russians did it. Okay, skipping ahead. I want to hear him whine about me one more time.
1,000 views, and people who make videos based on some of these ridiculous ideas are getting millions of views. So I'm very much losing the information.
And he gets so mad right here. He's like, the people that are debunking Ashton are getting millions of views, and I'm not getting them. He's so upset.
Or as we speak. But
the fact that he sees it as an information war really says a lot. Really says a lot about Jeff Wise's motivations.
I don't know. All you can do is try to go into battle and see what you can do and what you.
So real quick, I'm going to address this question. Are they plain dumb or are they actually stupid? The answer is they're actually stupid. They're actually stupid. So why am I even playing this, guys? Because I want you guys to see this is what we're dealing with here. Like this is normal people that are out there. So when I say that at least half the people on this planet are NPCs that don't have any like inner monologue, like this is what I'm talking about right here. There's a lot of people that are like this, that they just think that whatever they believe and they're told on TV, that's what's true. Anything else that presents it, they just ignore all evidence. They don't listen to the evidence. It can't be credible. It's not possible. It's essentially dogmatic thinking. And which is ironic because he tries to think that conspiratorial people are religious in their beliefs. That what we're listening to right here is religious belief. That's what this is right now. What I'm doing is about as far from religious belief as you can possibly get. I'm pretty sure Jeff Wise has never read a scientific paper ever before either.
You can learn and fight your battles and see.
The current bill.
They're not in the habit of calling up experts. They're not in the habit of sifting through enough data, talking to enough people that you could really get a sense of who's the expert and who's not.
And the fact that they're talking about experts right now, like, bro, I talked to Billy Vincent, like literally the former security director at the FAA. Okay. So I don't know what other expert I'm supposed to talk to, but I literally talked to a guy who's an expert on lithium ion battery fires and commercial airplanes. Okay. A guy that had already figured out the fire event before the batteries were known. Which expert does Jeff Wise talking about? I've talked to experts like Salvatore Paez who can explain the very technology we see in the videos, and he has patents with the Navy. Like, I'm not sure what expert means when it comes to a missing plane. It's certainly not some random bloggers.
For most people who don't do this for a living, if someone comes forward and starts speaking in a very technical way or has an impressive job title or an impressive academic credential, they will tend to believe that person. And I don't think that's a shameful thing. I think that's just, it's hard to figure out in a complex world what is true and what is not. One of the things that Ashton Forbes does when he goes on his podcasts is he throws around a lot of really what we used to call 25-cent words. They're probably like $5 words now, but a lot of fancy words go a long way to.
I gotta go full screen, chat. Ashton Forbes throws around a lot of fancy words, chat. Words like gravity and energy and like where does it come from? Like, you know, like sciencey words. They don't really mean anything though. It's all just gibberish. It's like Jesus Christ, Jeff. If this is what we've got to deal with, guys, when it comes to the public, I have zero faith in humanity. So when you see my post earlier today where I say that humanity is not ready, it's because I spent all weekend watching this kind of shit. And I'm like, dude, these people literally are living in a religion where science is just this like haze that's out there that the voodoo witch doctors tell you what to believe in or not. Like, not something that us normal people can comprehend and understand. Like, it blows my mind when I listen to this.
Making people think that you're serious. Yeah. We also have a problem of like inappropriate credentials. Like a lot of people are going on TV and saying, well, I'm a 777 pilot and I know what this pilot would do, or I have an insight into what happened with this case. Those people have actually taken up a lion's share of the public's understanding of what happened to this plane.
Well, I mean, I think that listening to what pilots would do is extremely important because most of the pilots I talk to say this flight path makes no sense for a suicidal route. And then what it looks like is they're going to the nearest airport to land in an emergency scenario. I don't know what experts Jeff thinks we should be talking to if not Boeing 777 pilots. Okay. Let's keep going. We're almost done here. I want to listen to how he whines about me.
Source to go upstream to find the initial report, for example.
Right.
And it's just easier to keep circulating the same ideas and reinforcing the same ideas in the echo chamber of the. That's not why they're.
So I'm kind of humorless about it, frankly. But I can get how people like the excitement of a sort of dumb but fun theory.
Yeah, and they set aside.
Oh, I'm not watching any DNC. No chance, guys. I'd rather gouge my eyes out. Yeah, so like if Jeff was really against this, he would have just debated me a long time ago. I mean, as you can tell from this, like Jeff isn't going to last 5 minutes in a debate. I would probably have this guy in tears within like 10 to 15 minutes where he would just like be literally crying and probably like rage quit out of the live stream. Like, not to be rude, but Jeff, you're just not on my level, man. You're not in my league when it comes to the investigating MH370. Certainly not when it comes to the science as well. I'd be sitting here talking about how gravity is like explained by 0-point energy, and Jeff would be like, "You're just making up fake science right now." I'd just be like, "Oh my god, dude."
The horrible disaster of the event, for example,
somewhat conclusive. And I know that we can just throw up our hands and feel like actually the situation has gotten worse since you tried to push back against this conspiracy community. Mm-hmm. And if anything, a lot of theories that had kind of lain dormant seem to have resurfaced. I mean, I was shocked when people are talking about flat Earth again. I mean, what I just don't get it. But I think that there is
for the record, chat, I'm not a flat earther. Flat earthers hate me just as much as the debunkers do.
Useful distinction. It's not just we're all the same. We all have our strange beliefs, and there's no way to really reconcile that or find some clarity. I think there is an important distinction to be drawn, and it's this. If you follow conspiracy theory, it's all about vibes. Inquiry will get you somewhere. Talking about how we can get making a prediction. You're making enticing, and if you're full of doubts about the mainstream, it's very fun to believe in it. It doesn't get you anywhere. There's nothing you can do with it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Maybe this is my mantra. I'm not here to sell a theory. I'm here to find the plane.
Damn it.
All I'm interested in is finding the plane. And
if Jeff Wise was interested in finding the plane, he would have talked to me, right? He would have talked to me. If you're really interested in finding the plane, you would want to talk to anybody and everybody that's out there. Like I did. I tried to reach out to all of these guys. I tried to reach out to all the independent group. I tried to reach out to all the UFO people. So this betrays their intent, right? If you were really trying to solve it, you would leave no stone unturned. If you're leaving stone unturned, going, I don't want to look underneath that stone makes me feel uncomfortable, then you're not really trying to solve the case. And this was the same thing that the debunkers did. They were trying to debunk the videos. They were never trying to solve the case. Where do you see these debunkers now? Are any of these debunkers trying to solve what happened to the plane? No. They never spent 1 second trying to figure out what happened to this plane. All they wanted to do was make the videos go away. That was their sole purpose. No other intentions whatsoever. Simple as that. Jeff Wise isn't trying to solve the case. He was on the Netflix documentary. It's money for him.
And theories and ideas and all of this hullabaloo is all in service of something else. It's not a goal.
I want to hear the part where he says about my clicks.
In itself. Believing, having that good feeling, having that vibe is not family members of the
people who are
here, which is that I will never get more clicks than Ashton Forbes. But what I can do is try to solve the case, which he will never do. He will claim to have solved the case. I think ultimately only a small minority of human beings will find it anything other than ridiculous. And I think that if we exert ourselves to our maximum effort, that's all we can do, is exert ourselves to our maximum effort to try to gather plausible facts and seek the advice of serious experts. We will piece it together as best we can. I'm optimistic that we can actually solve the case.
Bro, he's talking like it's 2015, man. This plane disappeared 10 years ago. They searched twice and found nothing, and they're going to search again in November. He thinks we're going to solve it. How are we going to solve it, man? It's a cold case. There's nothing. These videos, and I'm probably going to play them again, are the best evidence we will ever have to solving this case. The fact that he thinks that I'm not going to solve it, like, clip this, guys. Save this clip, right? Like, this clip right here is the end of Jeff Wise's career. In fact, I would go so far, guys. I'm actually worried about Jeff Wise here. Like, I'm legitimately worried. Like, I listened to this whole thing and the brainwashing and the hurt feelings and all this stuff that are on display with Jeff Wise. And I'm legitimately afraid that this is the kind of person who's going to hurt themselves. Like, you guys listen to me talk about it, and I say, like, people are going to hurt themselves over these videos being real. And this is exactly the type of person I'm talking about. People don't believe me when I say that. Like, Jeff Wise will have a psychological break if it turns out these videos are real and I've been right all along, and he's been ignoring me and blocking me and doing these hurt feelings videos about me. Like, this is like this kind of stuff that, like, I'm not going to say it, but, like, you know, people hurt themselves when they come to the truth about some of this stuff, and they've been wrong to this level. Okay, you want to hear the part again?
And I think that if
to go around in circle
here, which is that I will never get more clicks than Ashton Forbes. But what I can do is try to solve the case, which he will never do. He will claim to have solved the case. I think ultimately only a small minority of human beings will find.
Too funny, chat. Too funny. So butthurt, chat.
World, or at least a tiny fraction of the world that watches this podcast.
Okay. That's good enough on that one, guys. That actually should be my ringtone, guys. It's like, I will never get as many clicks as Ashton Forbes gets. I don't even care about clicks, chat. I don't even care about clicks. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit, chat. This also is not even my job, just for the record, guys. Like, I worked all day today. Not my job. Never been my job. Never been trying to profit off this. I do get a little bit of money off of it, but it's less than you would make working at McDonald's. So just a heads up in case people think I'm, secretly raking in the bucks. I've never charged 1 cent for any podcast I've done. I did 100 podcasts. Never charged anybody. So, anyway, we're already getting late, but I want to listen to this Joe Rogan video. Hold on. Okay. So the last thing, oh, actually, I said we were going to look at this guy's tweets. So let's look at this guy's tweets real quick. Okay. So apparently this guy said some tweets or something. Let's see who this guy is. Harold Malgrim, and whatever. Okay, he thinks there's going to be more stuff happening afterwards. 60 years ago, I was provide highest level classifications to lead DoD work on nuclear weapons and anti-missile technology. Informally briefed on other world technologies by CIA's Richard Beisel, who was in charge of Skunk Works, but sworn to secrecy. Okay, so this guy says he knows some shit. Read the book, then watch comments of others. Bissell briefed me off the record after his resignation as CIA Deputy Director of Special Ops. I am not seeking public confirmation status, just telling my personal story. Yeah, so the CIA people know, man. I believe this guy's telling the truth. I'm told Kelly Johnson was the genius of Skunk Works, but reporting to Beisel. I was not there, cannot confirm their formal relationship. So basically he wasn't directly connected, but he knows some shit is what he's saying. Okay, got it. Okay, so we've seen that. Let's go to Joe Rogan. What's my job? My job is healthcare IT, medical records. I'm a database architect, I guess you could call me. That's one way to talk about my job. It's certainly not related to UFOs or science at all, really, except for maybe computer science. Okay, you know what? Another pod with Timothy Abarino. I actually have to retweet his video on Bob Lazar. Maybe we'll talk about that on Wednesday. I haven't watched it yet. I'll probably watch that after this. So the last thing that we're going to look at is the Joe Rogan interview. Peter Thiel interview is very interesting, guys. So if you're not familiar, I've been talking about Peter Thiel as potentially being like, I mean, he's connected to the CIA. No question. He's connected to the CIA. We know that because he is the startup of Palantir, which is a data collection company that was basically funded by the CIA. And when I listened to this podcast interview, I can tell right away that Peter Thiel knows some stuff that the rest of the world doesn't. He's thinking about the big ideas that you have to know, like what the true answer is in order to even be having these kinds of thoughts and questions. Why does my job require a clearance? Because I have access to everybody's medical records. I probably really shouldn't be saying that very publicly, but there you go. That's your answer. And for the record, I would never violate that trust or violate HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Just in case anybody's watching. But that's why I have a clearance. It's not related to other stuff. Also, for the record, guys, like 1 million people have clearances in this country. And while mine is one of the higher end clearances, you need top secret clearance, you need compartmentalized access, and you also, in some cases, need to be on the bigot list we found out about. So this is how they compartmentalize it. Like, it goes well above top secret for some of this stuff, guys. You don't know about the aliens and the crash retrieval stuff or whatever is going on unless you're like way, way up there. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this.
Just an immediate invasion of aliens. I think it would break down society in a way that would be catastrophic to everything, to all businesses, to all social ideas. Religion would fall apart. Everything would be fucked.
It would be pretty crazy.
It would be beyond crazy.
Would be pretty crazy.
It would be beyond fucked. And then,
although they're basically talking about disclosure right now. And God, man, like, can you imagine if I had talked to Joe Rogan? Because I mean, he's on it. He's right. Yes, it's going to fucking destroy everything, pretty much. Like, just like we talked about Ross Kohler earlier today, the reasons why they're hiding this technology is twofold. Doomsday weapons, number one. Number two, socioeconomically, it's going to destroy everything, man. Socioeconomically, like, all fossil fuels are going to become obsolete. Like, who knows what happens to Bitcoin or whatever. I think religion will have the least impact. It's the economic impact that they're afraid of. And they're afraid of, how do you stop, Florida man from destroying the whole planet?
Although you could say that's what ChatGPT is.
It could be.
It's like an alien intelligence. But
I think that's what ultimately they are.
The fact that Peter Thiel is talking a lot about AI here also scares me. Also scares. A lot of the concepts he said, we're going to probably skip through some of them. I know the main talking points because I watched this a couple times. But I want to listen to the part where he talks about the warp drives.
But I think there's so many parts of it that I find puzzling or disturbing. Let me go down one other rabbit hole along this with you, which is I always wonder, and again, this is a little bit too simplistic an argument, but I always wonder that I'm about to give, but what the alien civilization can be like. And if you have faster than light travel, if you have warp drive, which is probably what you really need to cover interstellar distances,
why in the fuck is he talking about warp drive right now, chat? If you had told me I would be listening to Peter Thiel on his way through a warp drive conversation, yeah, it's actually very painful to listen to him talk because of all the ums and pauses in his discussions. But the fact that he's just randomly bringing up warp drive right now, guys, he fucking knows, chat. Do you think this guy's connected to the CIA? You know who else is connected to him? Eric Weinstein and Jesse Michaels are both connected to Peter Thiel as well. So there you go.
What that means for military technology is that you can send weapons at warp speed and they will hit you before you see them come.
Oh, this was him talking about it, not Joseph P. Farrell. That's why. Here you go. You can send weapons. He's talking about warp nukes. Where's Dreadstar Captain when you need him, chat? Warp nukes. He's talking about right now. I'm going to back it up. 20 seconds.
That I'm about to give, but what the alien civilization can be like. And if you have faster than light travel, if you have warp drive, which is probably what you really need to cover interstellar distances, what that means for military technology is that you can send weapons at warp speed and they will hit you before you see them coming. And there is no defense against a warp speed weapon. And you could sort of take over the whole universe.
Okay, I'm done with
before anybody could see you coming. And this is by the way, this is sort of a weird plot hole in Star Wars, Star Trek, where they can travel in hyperspace, but then you're flying in the canyon on the Death
shoot
Star.
so slow you can see the bullets.
Yeah, it's like.
Okay, sorry, I had to get rid of the headset thing. So warp nukes. He mentions warp drives, warp nukes. This is what we need for aliens to get here. Simple as that. So this connects directly to what I was talking about, the UFO community people. Just gonna be honest. If you're somebody that believes that aliens are here and you don't believe the MH370 videos, you're not being consistent, because that's literally what must be true in order for aliens to get here. That's what Peter Thiel just mentioned as well. And then he mentions that this is a big plot hole in all the sci-fi shows, because the way it would really play out is not flying dog fights in your ships. You literally just warp a nuke onto somebody and blow them up. There's no dodging it. You're just gone instantly. That's how it would really play out. And then we're going to listen to a little bit of the AI talk.
And then you're doing this theatrical Klingons versus Captain Kirk at 10 miles per hour or 20 miles per hour or whatever.
It's funny when you put it that
way. Well, they're crazy in a very different way.
Yeah, but not crazy in a different way. You compare us to a mouse. Compare equity, theft, violence. Logical life might not be what we're experiencing.
I know this is a sort of a silly PayPal digression story from 19.
I don't know when he's going to say it, so I'm just going to say it. So then he brings up this point that, like, in order to safely use this technology, it may be that we have to either be perfectly altruistic or basically space fascism, where we have like full control, where we don't even have autonomous thought, where we're all basically one giant hive mind. And then that conversation flows into this idea of like, well, maybe AI is just going to replace us. And maybe we're already obsolete beings. And maybe we're being policed by other beings that are higher up, that are like, they can't have this technology until they obtain this level of sentience or this level of enlightenment where we're not going to destroy ourselves anymore. And that to me was pretty crazy, because when you're listening to a guy who you think knows the truth, you want to know, what is their thought process? Like, what do they think is going on here? Because when I've come to this, I've concluded we're going to destroy ourselves 100%. And it seems like he's come to the same conclusion based on this information. And then it just becomes a matter of like, okay, well, are we going to be allowed to have the technology? Can we handle the technology? Are we going to be able to ascend up? Do we need to have some type of like space fascism in order to have the power? Do we have to create a hive mind where we all know each other's thoughts so that we know we won't destroy ourselves with a black hole super weapon? These seem like relatively silly ideas, but once you realize this technology is real, these are things that we actually, bridges we have to cross, that we have to talk about. So society needs to adapt. Society has to adapt to this technology. And that's the basis for what Peter Thiel and Joe Rogan talk about for like the next 15 minutes. So I'm going to go play a couple more minutes. Let me see if I can find a good sound bite.
1999, and we had sort of this, the business model idea we had in 99 on a much lower tech level, but Sequest was more correct because it's a spoof on Star
life or created life by people is just as not just.
Okay, I remembered another key point here. He also mentions this idea of what if there's more than one race out there? And you have to be perfectly altruistic, but what if some of them are just faking it? What if some of them are just pretending like they're altruistic, but then they're cutting corners everywhere? That's also kind of scary. So the bigger question is like, what does a civilization that becomes interstellar, that has the capability to make a black hole, what do they look like? What are the civilizations that make it past the Great Filter? What do they look like? The ones that don't destroy themselves.
It might be a superior life form, far superior. If we looked at us versus Chimp Nation, right? I don't want to live in the jungle and fight with other chimps and just rely on berries and eating monkeys. That's crazy. I want to live like a person. I want to be able to go to a restaurant.
I keep thinking
there's an interesting theory at the end, which we're not going to get to here because we're going to close up pretty soon. But Joe Rogan says, well, what if we just let the monkeys be monkeys? What if we just decide to live as lesser life forms? And that is really what I think the people that know about this are doing. That I think, yeah, it's sort of like the Ferengi. Somebody got my reference. In terms of cutting the corners, you think of the Ferengi in Star Trek, right? They're always trying to get ahead. Now, what though if they just let us be monkeys? What if the answer is we're not going to give you the technology, we're going to hide the technology, you get to just live your monkey lives out on Earth, and you just simply never ascend to interstellar species level because you can't handle it. Like the monkeys will destroy themselves. We can't let the monkeys have this technology. That's, in my opinion, probably what's going on. That's the best, let's say, metaphor for what's going on, in my opinion.
Or two alternate histories that are alternate stories of the future that are more plausible than the one you just told. And so one of them is, it sounds like yours, but it's just the Silicon Valley propaganda story where they say that's what they're going to do. And then, of course, they don't quite do it. Right. And it doesn't quite work. And it goes super, super haywire. And that's where, okay, yeah, there's a 1% chance that works. And there's a 99% chance that that ends up. So you have two choices. You have a company that does exactly what you do, and that's super ethical, super restrained, does everything right. And there's a company that says all the things you just said, but then cuts corners and doesn't quite do it. And I won't say it's 1 to 99, but that sounds more plausible as that it ends up being corporate propaganda. And then, my prior would be even more likely. This is, of course, the argument the effective altruists, the anti-AI people make is, yeah, Joe, the story you're telling us, that's just going to be the fake corporate propaganda. And we need to push back on that. And the way you push back is you need to regulate it, and you need to govern it, and you need to do it globally. And this is, the Rand Corporation in Southern California has,
So I mean, like when I listen to this guy, I'm in my mind, I'm hearing a guy that knows exactly what's going on. This doesn't mean he knows everything, but he's been told by people he trusts and knows that we have warp drive technology and super weapons. He might even have an over Unity device. Would not surprise me at all. And this is a guy that's really, he's got a educated opinion on what the nature of the phenomenon is based on what he knows. And it's so closely aligned with what I have come to conclude that he's got to know. Like at this point, I'm just very, very strong intuition. He's at very minimum making a very informed, educated guess here.
One of their verticals, and it's a sort of public-private fusion, but one of the things they're
especially when these humans are corrupt, it's got
high, and cultural social vibe is that the scary dystopian AI narrative is way more compelling. I don't like the effective altruist people. I don't like the Luddites, but man, I think this time around, they are winning the arguments. And
so I think we'll close it there. Basically saying that, the AI thing scares him. Scares me too, man. Scares me a lot. I think that the idea that AI already won is certainly possible. Especially when you come up with the idea of, well, can we manipulate time? And if so, can we pass information to the past? It becomes very possible for like Terminator-like scenarios to end up playing out, or a scenario where the AI sets us on a path where we'll always invent the AI. Pretty scary stuff to think about. They start talking about the back and forth between AI and biological beings, and my opinion on that is that what General Quast said, which is that a true AI will always outperform a biological human, but a human that's augmented with the AI, like the ability to use the AI, will always outperform the AI by itself. And I believe that's true as well, because human beings have adaptability. We have creativity. These are things that AI doesn't have. A human will always beat a computer in a game of chess. Well, maybe not always, but I always have the leg up, let's say, in the game of chess, because we have the ability to find the pattern in their behavior and exploit it, as opposed to them not having that ability on us. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of insightful stuff. Check out that podcast with Joe Rogan and Peter Thiel. Those are the kinds of people I want to be listening to, the ones that are kind of in the know, that know something that's relevant, as opposed to just these people that are telling stories or whatever. I'm just trying to look at my list here. Oh, so then the last thing, just to wrap it up, what's going on with these orbs in this video here? I think that, can this be us? Yes, I think this can be us. But I understand how when people look at this, they think that this must be aliens, because the technology is not stuff that we have in the public sphere. But once again, what we're looking at here is we're looking at them filming this plane before the orbs even show up. We have no reason to believe that these orbs were chasing the plane because they're going too fast. There's no way that plane could outrun them. We've talked to engineers and scientists. Now, very few people would be in the know on this. I think that this represents a breakaway civilization of elites that know about this technology. This could very well be Lockheed Martin orbs, as in like not even military at all. And that maybe military can use them if they want in this emergency scenario. But I think it's actually plausible that Lockheed Martin themselves deployed these orbs, or whatever third-party contractor owns the orbs. But at the same time, like, because of the history lesson here, right? Because of what Lou Elizondo said from the temporal aspect, like, did we recreate the orbs? Do aliens use orbs like this? Because these are drones. There's no little aliens inside these orbs here, which really, that's what kind of makes it all, who knows, right? And AI could really deploy these orbs as well. So if it's a scenario where AI has already controlled the world, what if AI is producing these on some kind of underground base, and us humans have no idea that it's going on? Maybe they're what was that show, Westworld or whatever, where they're AI is manipulating all the humans. That's what's crazy about this. This is what I struggle with the most, is like trying to comprehend how we could have this figured out. Now, we have the science figured out, no doubt. We've got the science figured out. I've been talking about it every single stream. But the hard part is, like, can we actually produce it? And then if we produce it, who owns it and who's hiding it and how are they hiding it? Because we can see the scientific papers. We can see patents related to technology, but we don't see something that puts it all together for us. So I'm gonna leave it somewhat open-ended on that front for the stream for tonight. I hope that we get to find out. The U.S. government 100% knows. No doubt they know exactly what happened to this plane. We need them to give some input. I did put in a bunch more FOIA requests to hopefully get the answers for that. And yeah, I hope people wake up. I hope Ross Coulthart wakes up. I hope Jeff Wise wakes up, because I have nothing against Jeff Wise, but he should at least be man enough to talk to me face to face over some of this stuff. And yeah, I hope some of these other guys like eventually realize that this is the science, this is the technology. We have this stuff, guys. We had to have a plane disappear in 2 videos to get the truth out, but it's going to happen. Okay, guys, I think that's it for tonight. I hope you guys appreciated the stream. Hope you guys appreciated that stuff. Check out those videos, and I think it'll be awesome, guys. Let's have a good stream on Wednesday as well. We'll dig into some more science. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be, but it'll be interesting. So have a good night, MH370X. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeeze so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine, spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plates, creating the throat, opening gates from Earth to the stars in a single bound. A shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates,